Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Welcome to RGV Aerial Photography's deep dive into images he captured this week around the shipyard and launch site in Boca Chica, Texas. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Starbase Photography Review. This is episode 20, and today we'll be reviewing photos that were taken on Wednesday, Cinco de Mayo, and some ground photos that I took yesterday, May 6th. And I'll be passing this along to Indian Star.
So I think Cinco de Mayo was Thursday, May 5th. But yeah, we have great photos. You took amazing photos, lots of ground photos, lots of aerial photos. Super excited to show you guys everything. And Thomas, did you want to say hi?
Hi, I'm Thomas, and first off, that dog. I love that picture. Thank you so much, Mauricio, for taking Sunny out for a long walk. Then we also have Golden Boy. Hey, Golden Boy.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Happy Saturday. Hopefully everybody's enjoying the day. I'm having a good day. The sun finally came out in Chicago, so it's been about a week since I've seen the sky, so it's a great day.
We thought we'd share the sun with you guys in Chicago from California. Sent it over for you.
Hey, I needed
Special
it, that's for
delivery.
sure. Well,
So starting
yeah.
off, Mauricio, I wanted to hear about this dog. What's going on with it? You brought Sunny to take some photos with you. What was going on there?
Yeah, so like you said, his name's Sunny. He's 10 weeks old, about 10 weeks old. And he's a 10-week-old golden retriever, and this is his first time actually out with me to Starbase. And it was one of those situations where it was just way too hot for him. We managed to get a little photo op there with the rocket garden, and had to carry him back the whole way. I didn't want him to overheat, but overall it was a hot day out there at Starbase today. I don't know how it compares to Chicago GB. It was about 95 degrees this particular day.
Really, already? Yeah, no, we're just breaking the 70s out here right now, so I think the season just changed like yesterday. I'm officially in I don't know, I don't even know if it's spring right now or it's starting to be summer, but yeah.
Explains why earlier talking about what he was doing in the shade, or he was following you around and going into your shadow.
Yeah,
Wow,
it's
that is hot.
they tend to want to go to the nearest source of the shade, and I was the nearest source, so he was always following me around, and he just didn't want to stay put, so I had to carry him around. He had a good time, I think. He spent most of his time sleeping in the truck, and it was pretty fun. I thought it was interesting to bring him out and get some photo opportunities with him. But overall, I mean, it wasn't much about the heat per se. I think it's more about the humidity out there. It just makes it really unbearable, if you stay out there too long. So, if y'all ever visit Starbase during the summer, just take a good hat, sunblock, and hydration. That's all I can say about that. I
Well, thank you
sound
for
like
sharing
Forrest
the
Gump.
puppy. That's an awesome photo.
Yeah.
How are the mosquitoes out there this time of year? I think a lot of people are planning some trips down there and or are already down there right now. Is it
Uh, they're not that bad in the middle of the day. It gets pretty bad in the morning hours and at sunset, and obviously during the night. But I haven't been out there during those times, so I can't really say if that's. But usually, when it does, a situation when I have been out there during in the mornings, they're pretty bad, and the mosquitoes are not average mosquitoes. I would say they're pretty huge. They look like almost like butterflies.
Oh man.
Not, not that big. Maybe like dragonflies. I'm exaggerating a bit, but yeah, they're pretty bad.
I saw a fly this morning that was one of the largest flies I've ever seen. I was like, I think it's a little too early in the season for something like this to be as large as it is. Well, I wanted to start out with that ground image because it was actually, now that I think about it, where were you on the ground right here? You're probably right about in this area on the
A little bit
um,
more to the left, right in between, right at the center of the rocket garden there.
oh, like
Mhm.
more actually close to it,
Pretty close to it.
or
There's
were you
some
far out?
survey marks, I think, that some type of boundary, so we didn't go past that. Maybe a little bit more forward, but yeah, it's around that area. I mean,
So I don't know if we want to start at the Sanchez side today because I feel like I'm always the one who chooses. So I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. I feel like there's a lot going on elsewhere. This is actually a pretty busy week, I think, as far as actually having some updates. Lots of good news. We could start out with some regulatory news, right, Thomas? You
Well,
got
we did
some.
pass Section 106, the regulatory side. It was good news where we were looking at basically on the 5th and the 6th. Maybe it's the 5th that was actually completed, but the 6th that was marked as completed. And that is basically the Historic Preservation Act. That's basically what Section 106 is. It's one of many different checkmark boxes that they have in order to get their launch license, or at least get the PEA done, the Programmatic Environmental Assessment. Uh, in order to get their launch license, they've got all these steps going. So far, the only one really that's left is the environmental assessment, and at current, they're expecting this to be at about May 30th to be completed.
Man, I
So
hope so. I think a lot of people are getting really frustrated in general with a lot of the delays, and it's you can kind of see it just like everywhere, in my opinion. But um, luckily, like I said, it seems like things are starting to pick back up, like in anticipation of um, you know this finally coming to an end. So there's lots of good signs of that, in my opinion.
yeah, so a lot of the stuff has to deal with water. And speaking of water, we have tons of water barrels up the top right. We've talked about this before, that it looks like they're doing some sort of reverse osmosis plant, at least that they did at Sanchez, and they may have moved that over to here, meaning they're basically making their own water from the either Rio Grande or what's next to them there.
Is that drinkable water?
Reverse osmosis, it would be drinkable water at that point.
So Mauricio, next time you go out with Sunny, you'll be able to have water. And in
Probably
addition to
not.
that,
I
55,
don't think
55
he's
Chevy
able to
guy.
pull it, get it from here.
No?
No.
Well, in theory, if he could, then he could take Sunny with him because 55 Chevy guy gave a $20 donation saying dogs rule.
They
So
absolutely
that would
do.
be great.
Yeah, we got
I've got a
ourselves
golden just like that. He's a bit bigger now. He's 55 pounds, but he is still such a puppy. Thank you for that, Steve.
So this would be it. You said the is probably pulling from the river.
It's either pulling from the river or they are just storing that all there right now. But those are basically what are frac tanks. So basically, all of the material that they're pulling that is not something you want to be able to. It's basically your wastewater. So you're pulling in water. You've got the entire system is basically a filtered system for the reverse osmosis, and
Right.
that kind of looks like what they might be doing, but it's not hooked up yet. And so they have to go through and get a bunch of approvals for that kind of stuff too.
Well, this one could be more of a mobile or temporary one, right? Which means they wouldn't have to get those kind of approvals. You're just pulling up a tank and setting up your equipment, and
Yeah, it could be that they're just bringing in water tankers and doing it there on site. So they're bringing in what would be potable water and then making drinking water from that. So they just have trucks pull it in, and it's just kind of a weird place to put it all. Is just at the back of this facility.
There is a
Yeah.
question from Sean asking, why are the tanks black? Do we have any ideas?
It's to prevent algae growth. So you do not want light to come in there into the tanks and promote growth of anything organic inside of the tanks. That's why it's black. So it does not let light through.
Fair enough. Thank you, sir.
Dang, you just had that one ready. I didn't even know that.
We keep Thomas prepared and on hand at all times.
So I've been looking through these pictures a little bit, and I've kind of been trying to figure out what these things are for quite a while. I don't know if Mauricio was able to get a different angle of these when he went out for ground shots yesterday.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them at the end of the ground shots. It's not just ground shots; they are technically the drone shots because it's outside of the FAA airspace. So, actually, Mauricio, want to talk about those while we pull those up?
Right. So it's not controlled airspace. So I'm able to go out there and just try and keep my distance. I didn't go, right at the property there, but I don't know if you can show a couple of those images.
Yeah, I can. Just give me 1 second.
And while we wait for that, we also wanted to thank Jim Cavett for his $5 donation. Thanks, Jim. We really, really appreciate you and your regular donations. They really help Mauricio get up in the air.
Wow. So this is the backside of the Macy's lot then?
Yep, that's just right over the Rio Grande there, or just before the Rio Grande.
Everything looks so different from this angle. Okay. So oops, wrong direction. Let's see.
Yeah, so look down at the very corner. This is really the interesting stuff at Macy's. They've got some platforms that look like scaffolding. We've got railings up at the top, those black railings that you just they're above where you just went at. But yeah, they look like platforms, working platforms, and it's interesting to see that they have what looks to be cutouts for certain areas. So it it implies that there's machinery or cabling or something supposed to go through those holes. I'm not sure if the holes themselves are supposed to allow for other stuff to be done. Uh, but yeah, it's really a lot of interesting little stuff there. We talked about this last week. It looked like something like a raptor would go there. So you could wrap around a raptor to work on it. And maybe this is for their future thought was that they might use Macy's as a test range for engines, or maybe it's just for working on the engines somewhere else, maybe even at the Star Factory.
Right. Yeah. So this could be just temporary storage here until they're ready to move it over to the factory. Correct?
Yeah. So it would be part of the factory production. So one side might be the railing, the other side would be up against, let's say, vehicle components, or your welding or wiring or all sorts of other things. That might even be what some of those holes are for. But it looks like there's a beam directly crossing that, so it must be that there's panels that go on top of it. So you have your wiring and your holes, and then you basically put the panel on top or something like that. It's really unusual.
Yeah, these almost I could imagine these being we're having some welding robots, like you were saying, sticking out of these once they're like lined out. You know what I mean? Like along the entire strip of the wide bay, or sorry, not the wide bay, the Star Factory. So like as a welding stations, pretty much.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they
I
can
don't. I would
be.
expect robots on these particular platforms, but people for sure. And that's what the Raelians would imply. And then off to the left, we've got a picnic bench way off in the corner. So that's obviously one of their areas. I worry about the mosquitoes here too. It's just like there's there is no get away from the mosquitoes and the heat down in South Texas, and apparently the dust too. They've got plenty of it. But yeah, this seems more like a storage area or a preparation area for what their production is going to be looking like in the future. And obviously, we from the other shots, you could see that they're getting the grounds prepared with road base and other materials, as well as some netting to keep the soil stabilized. So they're
And forgive
really
me,
utilizing. Yeah, go
where
ahead.
is this in comparison to everything else?
The soil, it's back to the left, so it was one of the first
Right.
images we looked at there. So you can see they've got road base up in the top corner there, and they're
Right.
spreading that stuff about and getting the grounds prepared for their use of Macy's gun range, or what used to be the area of Macy's gun range. This is the area that was basically like the you'd use like what was it sniper rifles or long range rifles. This is like 200 meters back on the gun range, I think. So you'd really get some interesting target practice going on here.
You know what I noticed when I was out there, that they actually moved up the no trespassing, the private property sign. They moved it up to the entrance of Macy's, and there's actually a sign out there that says, to use the gun range, you have to call management at the range, I guess, to be able to set up an appointment. So they're closing it off little by little at this point. It's not accessible to the public at this point. Like I said, they moved up the sign. I'm not sure if they're acquiring the whole thing already or they're getting ready to shut it down.
Where is that sign at?
It's gonna be right, actually, further.
Further down?
Yeah, further down. It's
Oh wow.
before the water. Before the
Don't know if I
waterway.
have a
You can see
shot
it
of
in
that.
the drone. You can see it in the drone shots.
Back over to that.
Yeah, one of the first images in the drone shots. Not really sure which one it is, but
I think I got it right here.
yeah, they used to have that sign over by the cell tower before, if I'm not mistaken. They had it over in that direction. No, you don't have the. It's cropped out. It's not. It's not going to be there. But it's further down the road.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I have that image.
Yeah, so the property line for this area is pretty much just to the left of the image here. That's basically where SpaceX property begins now. Everything else is basically the United States of America surrounding that. So the area that is the water, that is their property line going inland. So yeah, this is an area that now they decided apparently to shut down the gun range. Maybe it's still open, but it's open by reservation. If you're a gun enthusiast and owner and you want to go to the shooting range, definitely give them a call. Maybe they'll let you in. I don't know. But that'll be an interesting one because they did say originally that Macy's will stay open until it proves unprofitable. So it looks like the gun range is still open. It's just that long range part is not. So that basically where your mouse is, where your mouse was,
Down here.
that is the current gun range. But to the right, you can see there's just behind the tower, along there's like a pile of debris. That is basically where the shooting range was for the long range area, and it looks like it still might exist in some capacity, but the coverings are gone. It's probably done and over with in that area.
Yeah, the left portion of Macy's is still open. I was out there and I can clearly hear gunshots. It's still operational. You just have to
Okay.
make an appointment to go out there.
And just as a funny little note, Samsung actually donated $10 towards your doggo water fund. We want to make sure Sonny's always hydrated.
Oh yeah, he's well taken care of. He's well taken care of, but we'll make sure to give him a treat with that doggo fun.
All right. Well, let's hop in and get over to the Sanchez side, I guess, since we're following the road pretty much as we do every time. Now we're finally at the entrance to Starbase. So this is the Sanchez site, and pretty much changes every week. This is like the one consistent place that I always say there's going to be some changes, and if there's nothing here happening, then I don't know. In my opinion, there's usually also nothing happening anywhere else. But we do have a few. Actually, hold on. Let me grab a better shot of this. We still have the booster transport stand under construction down here, which it's definitely getting a lot closer. We can actually see. I probably got to look at that from another side.
Well, I've got the hydraulics coming along on that as well.
Yeah, they have all of the
so-
clamps installed,
Yep.
or most of them at least. Definitely saw some interesting images this week of attempting to knock some of these in here as they were installing them. It looked pretty interesting just having to hammer some. It looked like some of them just slide in pretty easily when you're lifting them in with the crane, but others, you know, you're going to have some different tolerances on the interior alignment. And so some of them are just going to slide right in, and others you kind of have to persuade them to go in. And that's actually kind of interesting because, you know, I don't know if this is the case, but we've seen some other times, most recently with Booster 7, when they tried to take it, when they tried to put it back on the transport stand last time when it was damaged, like after they took it off of the can crusher, it took them forever to kind of get it seated on there. I think that was the time. It took them like way longer than normal to actually get it seated on the transport stand. And to some degree, I wonder if that's like just things getting stuck. Like you're trying to move one of these in and out, but it's not going. And so they're sitting there trying to mess with that alignment. And that's what takes forever for that, you know, to mount it back on the transport stand.
I've got some ground shots if you'd like to go for those as well.
Yeah, sure.
So GB, you're particularly talking about when we saw them going round and round when the booster was on OLM and they were like looking at the little drawers, if you will, to see if they were disconnected.
Well, it's kind of hard to tell what they're looking at most of those times. But let's see.
So there's a top
When you-
plate that that they have to unbolt in order to release the booster, and it's basically on this little lip that basically prevents the booster from rocking or tipping out of the transport stand while it's in movement. But the issue is that it seems to get jammed or the threads get messed up during transport, and so they're having issues. At least not this time, but the previous time that Booster 7 rolled down to the pad to get tested, and it took them probably full like 2 or 3 hours to get it working, and then they had to call it for the day, and then they finally moved it the next day.
You know, I did have a really good image of, you know, because I've seen people ask about what the top of those clamps looks like. Let's see. I don't know if I can see it in any of these. Oh, this one you can actually see it. So right here. If we zoom in, man, you can just barely see it. But let me see if I can zoom in even more.
Well, the profile edge, that's basically the shape of a V.
Yeah, so you can tell that this is basically, I'm going to need a picture of a booster at the same time in order to show this.
Well, we've got one with a side profile here as well, so that'll help. I need to grab that image here for you.
Yeah,
And
let's definitely do that. The side
Sorry.
profile.
Are the drawers meant to come out at the same time, or are they consecutive? Because we always see them come out one at a time almost.
These, yeah,
When?
so they come out one at a time because of the fact that they're checking them individually. So what happens is once the clamp actually releases, so this is basically the I guess you could call it the carrier of the clamp. Like the clamp sits on top of these massive um, these massive, what do you want to call them, like rods? Like they're really just large plates essentially. And so
they're pins, or they're what the booster sits on, basically. So
yeah, it's like I don't even know how to really describe them, but once the clamp releases, the pistons right here push outwards, and these will actually extend, like I don't know, 5 to 10 feet out. Not 10 feet, but they extend really far out. These are
they extend out
large.
as far as that cylinder is, basically.
Right. And okay, yeah, that's a good way of describing that. So that basically moves the clamp away from the booster, so that when they pull it out, if it's swaying side to side, you don't have to worry about the engine bells hitting the actual clamp itself. So
I do have the picture that you were asking for as well, that you can grab of
yeah,
the
looks like
booster, and this is booster 7 just from yesterday.
Is the goal to ever do them simultaneously, or will it always be in succession?
You always
Oh,
have to
such a good
remove the
picture.
top clamps and plates, and it will just be sitting there. So you can see that part right there, right between the engine mounts. That is what it's sitting on, is that piece right there with the transport stand. That is
yeah,
basically what it's sitting on and holding that part up as far as the clamp goes.
yeah. So it's basically sliding. This slides down in between the V shape of the clamp, which, as I was mentioning right here, you can barely see it. It's
Mhm.
just inside of here. This little V shape, like trough almost, I want to say, and it's semicircle as well too. So if we go back and look at it, I'm actually going to have to find a good aerial shot in order to show this, because I know we have a good close up.
So I actually got that a little bit wrong. If you go back to the image at the bottom of the booster, it sits actually on the bottom lip down there.
Yeah, it sits on this.
Just a little bit below that, but yeah. So the entire thing then gets clamped over, and that's what basically holds it in place as it's in transport.
Right. So this surface down here is what it rests on, and it also applies a force onto this side face right here. But then the lip you're talking about is up here, this darker line. So the clamp, like once it's sitting inside of this V shape, once this is sitting inside of the clamp, then the actual clamp itself slides over this lip. I wish we had a side profile of it. Hold on. Let's see if I can. Oh, there we go. So you can kind of see that lip right here. Man, I wish we had I need to show this clamp next to it.
That aerial photo you
You
mentioned,
can
is
see
it
this
in
V
his
shape
set?
right here now. Okay, wrong button. This is a lot easier to see from the side.
Yeah, so it doesn't directly rest on this, but it clamps on that piece that sticks out. So you
Yeah,
can see the
it
bottom
rests
piece
within
right
it.
there to the right. That's what it's resting on, but the upper part is what it's helping clamp onto.
Yeah, I think I may have to search for some. I had the perfect images to kind of show this, because I've been trying to explain it for a long time, but I'm not going to go search through them right now, because that might take me a little bit to find them. So in the meantime, let's see. So the actual, as I was mentioning, I don't think the actual, is it? I can't tell if these are fully installed, if that is actually the full V-shaped trough.
One is missing just to the right, and then there's a tarp on the other two to the left. But for the most part, the rest of them are all installed for that little trough that you're talking about.
Yeah, so basically, as soon as this is done, and they still have to install all of the hydraulics, which is a whole nother process in itself. You have to put the actual hydraulic pistons on top, and then you have to also do all of the run all your pipes for it. I don't know what you want to call the hydraulics for it on around the edge of the transport stand. So still say we got about another week, but literally as soon as that's done, we should expect hopefully B8 to be ready to be fully stacked right after. So
yeah, what's amazing is that this is the day before they placed all the hydraulic rams on top, and they're ready to basically pin those start piping the lines together. They're getting really close to being finished.
Do you think that these are part of the transport stand as well? Because we know that they're adding some new things to it, especially with the stabilization pins. But this kind of looks like it may go around those stabilization pins.
Yeah, it could be that it's part of like a walkway or something there.
Yeah, in order
They've
to.
been decided that they needed some sort of scaffolding on top because they're walking over those large blocks for each time they need to do something. And it's just easier to have a flat platform and then you lean down to go in between the stuff and work on it and unbolt things. At least that's what they have done on the Booster 5 transport stand. So
Yeah.
Well,
they're
and
they're making they're making that, at least I think, a prototype for now, and others will follow soon after. And maybe the Booster 5, its days are uh, not long before it's been scrapped or something else, because that transport stand is still usable as far as I know for these other boosters. They haven't changed the diameter of things. So it'll be interesting to see how things shape out with Booster 5.
I'm not gonna lie, Thomas. I've kind of been hoping that they scrap it for a very long time.
Well, you have to
for a
replace
very
it.
long time.
That's the thing. If you're going to scrap it, you got to replace it with something better, like Booster 4.
No.
Yeah.
Mauricio has pictures of the white looking walkway stuff. Would that fit in there in the ground photos, you think? In the black you just showed us? As part of the walkway? I'll show you when we get there.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what you're
Yeah.
referring to. Hopefully, we'll get. The thing is it in the Sanchez site or let's see? Oh, you're
So what are
talking
the
about the
pieces
ground
out?
images. Hey, look.
I'm talking
This
about ground
would be
images.
the BFC, correct?
Yeah, the Appleton Marine Products crane
Yay.
approximately holds 120 metric tons, but that's based off a model number we've seen. But otherwise, don't know if that's actually correct or not.
What do you mean we don't know it's actually correct or not? We know
Well,
that that's
because
the
we've
original
seen
crane they bought.
we've seen the label for this, but the purchase slip. But the problem is that it doesn't match the crane type. So this is more of like a jit crane. So you can see at the bottom right of that pad there is a point of rotation. This is meant for moving large shipping containers around up to 120 metric tons is what the model number would imply. But the model number also implies that it's a tower crane, which this isn't quite the same. So thinking of a tower crane like you'd see at a construction site for a large skyscraper. That's the kind of model number that it would imply as well.
I think they've taken it apart though, because originally it did look like what you're saying, a tower crane. Because there's a picture of it when they took it out of the shed and they moved it over.
They've never assembled this particular crane. There are pictures of the same crane type fully
Mhm.
assembled. I have to go through my photos to find it, but yeah, I haven't seen this one particularly assembled yet.
And we actually have another image from that Max Q grabbed for us. So let's show that really quick. It's kind of back on that subject that we were talking about before, with the booster clamp. So we were able to grab an image to show that a little bit better. So right here, man, if only this rope was not in the way. So you can see that it's sitting inside of that V shape right here, and this top plate sits on the top edge right here. So there's an edge that goes around the entire this lip that goes around the bottom of the whole booster, and these clamps on top lock onto that. Oops. So that part is actually completely separate. This is it's not the same on the transport stands, because this top plate right here will actually slide back and forth. Oh man, this internet browser zooming is killing me right now. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, I've been there.
So yeah, you can. I'll be able to show it once I grab that other image. I'm still looking for it in the background over here too. So we're a little bit closer, but hopefully if you guys can kind of see that a little bit, the way that you can see these bolts on here. So this clamps onto that edge, and it's a really small edge. So I think that's what a lot of people kind of get confused by, like what is actually holding it down, because it's such a small edge, and it's not grabbing it from the inside at all. It's just literally that lip, which is probably less than a few inches. I wouldn't be surprised if it's only, 1 inch.
Yeah, it's about what I measured it at when I've done the modeling of the booster, and that was booster 4. So they may have changed the variety as well. It looked to be that they had it as a solid piece. Now it looks like it's a piece that is bent or somehow tooled a bit differently. So it's has a little bit less material there. Looks like we've got a question that pulled in that we're still talking about the transport stands and clamps. It's from Redacted. Asks, so how similar or different are the transport stand clamps of the orbital launch mount hold down clamps? So between the OLM and this, the OLM, the clamps actually are pneumatically or hydraulically controlled,
Right.
so they completely release from the booster. They have to hold down the booster during static fires. There's enough thrust there, your booster could launch without some sort of hold down clamp. The part that's holding it up is basically identical. That wedge, that V-shaped wedge, and that there's 20 of them. That's the same, but the rest of it is completely different. So it has the actual arms that retract, and it has that pneumatic device that goes over the lip. It's the same lip. It's just the way that it connects is instead of it on the others, it's bolted.
Yeah, so the transport stand and the launch mount have the same mechanism, but everything else that they use for the boosters has. So this stand right here and the can crusher are the same, but the transport stand and the launch mount are different. Oh, hey, look! It appears Grover has finished his surgery, so they still got his older. Where is that piece? It's all down here in the bottom of the image.
Was the surgery a success?
It looks like it. He's back to
Yeah, it
work.
was at the very bottom of the image that you had there.
I'm getting like disoriented from where I'm at for some reason.
Yeah, it's next to the tanks, the two tanks that to the right.
Is it even further down?
Is it the
Yeah.
yellow thing right there?
No.
No, go back to the previous image and you can see on the bottom right. Now it's way off screen to the right. So there it is at the
here we
very
go.
bottom.
Hooray!
Yeah, so they'll probably ship that back out soon. But yeah, he's looks like he's back to work, which is good. Got to keep those SpaceX cranes busy.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah, I was
Looks
noticing
like
this before.
It's the old QD cable.
Just the hoses. Yeah, they took
Yeah.
it off of the frame, and it looks like this is just the hoses from it. So I wonder if.
So I win that crow bet. I bet that they were going to replace them with larger pipes, and they are definitely longer than these ones. So now they can go up the extra 5 feet that they need for ship 24 and above.
Yeah, those ones almost look. I wonder if they've been damaged at all. You can see that black tape around them, but
Mhm.
It's just
There's no
installation tape, it looked like. It
yeah,
was hanging off when it was removed, so there's not much that's changed.
it
But the
seems
new
like you're a
pipes
lot
don't have
lower
any
than
tape,
normal in
right?
these images, Mauricio.
Say that again, Golden Boy?
What was the question?
It seems like you're a lot lower in these images.
Nah, don't say that.
Are
That would put me.
are you outside of the? I mean, it seems like you're just like further away, but like lower. You know what I mean? Like, out
Looks like
of
a wider
the.
orbit.
Yeah, it looks like. Yeah, I don't know, because I'm usually never able to see like inside these tents. It just all the angles look different to me right now.
This is definitely above 10,000 feet. It's just a wider orbit.
Well, if he wasn't, they would warn him. So it's not like it would be a secret.
Right. Nah, it's not. There. It's like Thomas said. It's a wider orbit. Typically, I'd rather photograph looking straight down, just because there's less distance between the lens and the subject. But in this case, it was more of I was pretty far out. I think at this point, I was going off towards Massey's to try and get the shots, and I was looking back towards the Sanchez site. I think that's how you get this particular angle that I didn't get last time.
This is the first time. It's been a long time since we actually seen a truck backed up against here, offloading or onloading, I guess he would be. So it's kind of hard to tell which one he's pulling from, but it looks
Nitrogen.
like the nitrogen. Yeah. So when they transfer liquid nitrogen to the orbital tank farm, instead of bringing it in from wherever their source is in Brownsville, which is going to be at minimum of 28 miles away, you're able to source it from 2 miles away, which is a lot more ideal and a lot more environmentally friendly. So, a lot of people, in my opinion, kind of to some degree don't like these large facilities out here, but at the same time, you're being a lot more economical. You're reducing the amount of trips that are going back and forth on the road. So, everything from this facility to the actual launch site has been repaved. So you're not really damaging the road with the vehicles traffic that you have going back and forth between those two locations. But when you have trucks going back and forth from here to Brownsville, you're definitely going to have more of an impact on the road. And that pretty much affects everybody who goes out there. I mean, anybody who's been to Starbase has had to deal with the conditions of the road on the way out there. You're pretty much, I mean, if you're not paying attention when you're driving, then you're going to be potentially replacing a wheel or two. So, in parts of that road, it gets pretty bad. I don't know if it's gotten any better, Mauricio, since the last time I've been out there, but I imagine it has not.
Well, so it also reduces the amount of time that's traveled for these vehicles. So these vehicles, they're traveling all the way from like Fort Worth or areas around there. They're coming from all over the state of Texas to get here just to provide nitrogen or LOX. There's even places that in Houston that they'll be coming from. So this reduces all of that by quite a bit, and it also allows them to have their own supply. So it's a supplemental supply of nitrogen or oxygen, whatever they need. And the only thing that they have to have is energy. And part of that is actually at the bottom of your screen. There is that generator plant, and it actually looks like all 5 of the valves are open now. So they're using that plant full time until they get the Magic Valley to come in and basically finish off the lines. So the liquefaction plant, as well as all the other facilities, are basically relying, I think, on this natural gas to electric generator system they've got here. And those up at the top left are the chillers to help cool off the system. So they have to chill everything off, otherwise it just puts out a large heat plume, and that gets to be a bit more of an environmental hazard. So those themselves are scrubbers as well.
Right.
Not the ones at the top, but those
These.
ones at the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah, these are actually, I believe these are 5,000 horsepower roughly. I think it was. And so these are about 2 times larger than a normal like hydraulic fracturing pump, which are about 2,500 or 2,000 horsepower. So this is basically like 10 frac pumps essentially, as far as like your power, your capacity. And these 2 tanks, like I used to work in oil and gas operations, and we would swap these tanks out pretty much, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a day. You receive a new one and you swap them out. But we were also using like 20 pumps, so I imagine these 2 alone could probably last most of the day. So they probably only have to swap them out once a day, which is pretty good. I'm surprised they're not using like any kind of dual fuel with these, like
Well, it's so these are just the exhaust systems themselves. The actual generators are in the shed.
Yeah.
Stabilis is the one supplying the liquid natural gas for this system. That's what those yellow lines are basically about, is for offloading that natural gas, specifically those 2 right there. And what you see, that line in front of them, is just for the for water.
No. This are this is the distribution trailer right here. So it allows you to have, I think up to 8, between 4 or 8 different tankers connected to this if you want. And so then this controls that distribution, and this is how it feeds the fuel in right here. to the generators in here. So
Got a ground profile of those as well if you want to pull that up. It just shows the vent stacks themselves. So again, all open. So yeah, that means that they're currently active on all of them, and until Magic Valley is finished installing and energizing those lines, they will have to use this as a supplemental power source, and then it will become I believe, a backup power source because they do need to have their operations and facilities currently online like 24/7. And power does seem to go out to an area quite frequently, so this would help reduce their reliance on just having one power source. They've got also the solar panels, battery backups, and as Elon has mentioned, there's a wind generation plant. So they're basically very heavily reliable renewable systems that they're using right now. But this is one that, if you need it, it's useful to have. And they bought this from, I believe, Eugene, or not Eugene, Albany, Oregon, from a wood plant that was up there, and chillers and everything else came along at the same time.
So, Thomas, you might know this a little bit better than me. I'm not really sure on this area. So, as I mentioned before, we have Grover getting back to work, and this cap for the can crusher, has it been sitting down there this entire time, or was it on top of the this test structure before? So
No, it's sitting on the structure just above it. It's got like,
oh,
it's
that's
just a ring
the
section
Starship.
right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the aft section of the Starship, correct?
It's something like that. Yeah, it's really weird. So to the right, that should be B2.2. It's a test tank. And then 2.1 to the left. And they've done the testing on the one to the right back in December 18th. They actually did crush it a little bit. It didn't break the tank, it looked like, at least from the outside, but it did, I think, fail the test. So it was supposed to not bend the way that it did, and it might be part of the way that they did the test. So there's a ring band around it that may have messed things up there.
So sorry, I was still trying to find that image of the clamp. I've been searching for it for so long in the background. I don't think I'm gonna find it. I'm pretty dedicated to getting that image, but it might not happen today. It's okay.
Yeah, I went to go show that same clamp yesterday on a video that I created, but I don't have it any longer in Discord. It ate it. It's just gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate. Well, with that being said, I think we can move on to the wide bay because there's some really good news over there, and it looks like we finally got ourselves a floor on top of the wide bay. So, as you guys can see up here, the concrete has been fully set. They probably still have to add epoxy on top of this, but they may finish. I don't know if they are going to build out the entire inside of this before they do that. I'm not really sure like what the procedure is, but they still have to put the roof on, as you guys can see. But yeah, at least the floor is done. There are several. Let's see from a better angle. You have some penetrations through the floor right here, and another one right here. So this is probably where all of the mechanical HVAC stuff is going to pass through.
Probably not, actually. It's going to most likely be stairs, because the stairs that we thought we would have, those are completely covered up in the corners. Notice that the top right corner where the staircase is at, there is no staircase. So they're probably going to be floor penetrations for the staircase. I pulled up an image of the ground shot that Mauricio took yesterday of that same area. If you want to pull that up as well.
Yeah.
So you can see the inside. Go back to that overflight picture, and then that ground shot as well. It does show that penetration as far as the floor. They've got a structural element around that area. So they've got some I-beams in order to keep up the support around the edges. And the area that we're looking at here, it's just to the right that we were looking for. So just zoom in up to the top and to the right. We can get to the bridge crane in a moment.
The top and to the right.
Yeah, so just where that guy is standing, just to the right of him,
Mhm.
and we're looking on the underside. Is really want to zoom in on that area. So you see the I beams, how it just on the underneath the floor, that area right there is that little area that they have not put any concrete. It's just to the right, not the one on the left.
I am having a hard time seeing it from this.
Okay, so you have the Z-girts, that those metal beams on the outside. It's the second
Yeah.
one down.
Mhm.
You can just see behind that is where you can see the I-beam. That's
I-beam.
the floor joist, part of the floor joist. Yeah, and then it has a header, not a header, but another one that's going across just to the right there, an I-beam going
This one?
to the outside. Yeah. So that entire area is the box where they're going to probably put some stairs or something like that. I
Right.
originally thought, as you did, that HVAC would be.
Wait, but
you
that's
know,
in the middle of the building.
It's to the right. It's to the right of the building is what you're looking at.
So basically, you'd be looking at
So if you go back to the aerial shot,
that. That was like right over here.
I don't see the aerial shot. You're just seeing the
Okay.
previous image,
Sorry
the
about
ground
that. So that wasn't where you're looking at was right in this area.
No, it's to the right. So go over to the right, because we're looking at it from the Highway 4 side.
Oh, we were looking in this.
Yeah.
In here. Okay, gotcha.
Yep. So then just right there, that is that spot we were looking at. So they've basically made it so that it's able to be cut out, and they could put it in staircase or HVAC or something like that. But it seems like staircase would be the thing that makes more sense, because they don't have the penetration where the staircase should be at the top corner to the top right.
So I think maybe a good way for them to do this would be, you have your stairs that came up to about what, like this level essentially. I'm not really sure how high up they went, but the entire section above the bridge crane is pretty much just open space. So they could have walkways around like a walkway going around the entire inside of the bay. And then you would have stairs coming up that walkway to reach the top on both sides, if that makes
Now,
sense.
to throw some more confusion into this matter, go to the far right to High Bay, if you can, in this image, because that's where things get really interesting. Just look at the bottom of High Bay, the very bottom on the ground level.
Yeah.
You see what those are?
Yeah, that makes
They've got
more
more
sense.
stairs. Yeah. So the theory is that either that they're going to go through and cut out the concrete they just poured in the corners to put those stairs, or they might be putting in more stairs for the actually there's another staircase just to the left that they're building there. So
I was looking at that one too.
yeah, that means that they're probably going to do some exterior stairs or something like that, because this doesn't fit.
It's got to be inside of the building somehow. Like we're gonna have to get. I bet if you actually, yeah. Let me see this. Let me go back to the image that I was talking about.
But the reason that we need another set of stairs is for fire safety.
Right.
So you can see on the inside there's the the bridge crane, and this is, remember, looking from the direction of Highway 4.
Yeah.
So there's that same
the
crane to
stairs,
the left.
the stairs are. We don't even know how far up they go, right? But they could be up to here.
They're actually just a bit higher than that is where they end. From the aerial shots we've seen before, they ended the stairs. So they pretty much go up to that top floor, or that floor you have for the bridge crane, where you could basically have an outside perimeter for a walkway, and then you'd have some other stairs and things like that. But it's really strange how it just kind of ends. I was expecting to go all the way up to almost the roof line.
So we do have a question about the roof. Too Legit to Quit asks, why is there a second hole in the roof of Wide Bay on the other side of the elevator?
So you have to have two means of egress for the high bay. It's for fire safety. So that's why you'd have a hole basically on this side and a hole on the opposite side, so that you'd be able to have a means of egress. My theory so far would be that there might be a set of stairs exterior to the building, allowing you to not take up much floor space and you had the ability to now just have your fire exit outside of the building, just like a skyscraper, let's say like in the Bronx of New York or something like that. They've got the exterior stairwells. This would be kind of something similar to that. And I'd hate to be the guy who travels all the way up and your key card doesn't work.
And so, as a follow up, Too Legit asks, is there a second so there will be a second elevator for sure?
The second elevator where it should probably go is where those stairs are at.
So the
Yeah,
answer is yes, there will be a
it
second
would,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So these are scaffolding stairs, correct? And then, oh, man, I'm just wondering if they're building an entire. These look like this looks like the clear, like it appears to be the last section. The way it's built kind of differently, whereas this one is like,
It's
oh,
not
something
finished.
continues after this.
Remember, those stairs to the left are missing. It's the stairs on the left, just next to that power generator, go with those sets right there. So it's
Well,
still
these ones
not
are
being
still a little
finished.
bit taller. You know what I mean? This is actually taller than the other set.
Yeah, because it's not. It's in progress. So that crane right now is working on building the rest of the stairs and attaching them. It You can see that it's got it. Looks like just scroll down a little bit. You've got the stairs to the right as well.
I see these ones right here. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got really 3 sets of stairs that are left for this particular one, and that's way more than they need to complete the high bay or wide bay. I'm sorry. Um, Elon calls it the mega bay, so that's going to be a fun naming convention where we call it the wide bay, mega bay,
It's
and
really
then
hard to not continue calling it the wide bay.
yeah, we could just call it the mega wide bay, and that'll work.
So these could probably fit through this hole right here.
No, it's not going to fit through that hole. It's those stairs. Go look at
No, they're
scroll
not.
out.
You're right.
Yeah, you can see that the proportions are not correct. They're going to have to cut something, or we're going to have to do it exterior. We're staring at stairs too long. Let's move on.
Yeah, we're fine. Just trying to figure out what is happening here. So I'm trying to circle around to the front side where inside of this tent down here, we still have that ring segment, which was in here. And now they have this other, like a disc, which is a 9-meter disc, correct, Thomas?
It's about 9 meters. So you can see a
On the
9-meter
interior.
diameter just to the right bottom corner. There is that 9-meter diameter. They look to be about the same. I'd have to go grab the measurements again, but those look to be about the same diameter. And now the crazy part is what's going on with that piece that's above it inside of that tent.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is going through a bit of a transformation. So they had I'm going to grab some ground pictures here for you to pull up, because this is beyond what I was expecting for them to do. But it's kind of incredible. So, oh, sorry, hold on.
And I can I'm searching for those at the same time too. So
Okay, I've got the first link for you here.
Thank you. Oh wow, this is a great angle right here. So
yeah, Mauricio, you took these on Remedios, correct?
Right. Let me see the picture. Yes.
Yeah. So the company that it's on tagged on this is In Place Machining Company. So they're literally machining. Pull up the second image, and you'll see what I mean by machining. It is quite interesting to see how much material they're taking off here. So that machine is going around in a big giant circle where it's basically in the middle, and it's taking off all of the top surface and getting it down to a machined, precise, leveled measurement. So they do 3D scanning. That same company, so they get the exact dimensions of what the customer wants, and then they grind it down. And you can see right there, it's stopped at where the weld point is at. I'm not sure if
there's
it's
a
in the progress or not.
if you look at one of the drawings that's on the actual structure there, somebody drew it by hand. It looks as though they actually drew how it looks like from the top. Not sure if you can find that
Let's see.
image.
Yeah, give me a
It's
second.
It looks like a semicircle with, I guess, with small circles in the middle and going around the
It's like
perimeter of that structure.
it's like they
Alright,
drew
The-
it with their fingers
you
on the
have-
I've
dust.
got the image there in the dust. That's the whole image.
Hmm.
So it looks like it could be what I'm thinking might be for the diameter kind of fits a Raptor engine. So it could be that they're going to put the Raptor engine mount where it's the inner 13 engines will basically fit on each of those holes. So go to the right to the left. Sorry, go to the left where that broom is at. You can see right there they've thrown a little dusty image of what appears to be holes or sockets. So I suspect that that is where they're going to basically be placing this structure. Will be underneath the 13 center Raptor engine. So that'll be the outer 10 is what that diagram might be showing. It's not to scale, obviously, but it gets the idea across. It's just made out of dust.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking something similar. So if you look at it from, let's see, I have to go
Basically,
back.
what this would be is a large jig for assembling the pucks, the rings, everything, and it's all precision and aligned from the get go.
Yeah, I was
Um,
thinking something similar, but even with, so if you look at it from this angle, I believe that those holes might actually, like it's a two-part system. So what I'm really hoping is that they are constructing something that would allow them to install all 20 of those outer engines at the same time. And same thing with that inner 10. So like you're kind of saying, I think you're alluding to it, is basically a jig where you sit all 20 outer or all 20 Raptor engines on this, and maybe you can do the inner 10 as well. I'd be kind of surprised if you could fit all of that inside of that jig, but
that's
that
what
would
the
allow
black
you.
one would be for.
Right, but I was thinking that they go together, that they're two. The black one goes on top of this, and so then you would lower the booster down on top of it and rest it on the. Let's see if I have that image of the bottom side of the booster still.
And while you do that, we want to remind everybody, if you like what you're hearing, to go ahead and hit the like button. And then if you actually want to get notified of the streams when we do them and everything like that, we invite you to subscribe and then hit that bell button. When you hit that bell button, it'll send you notifications to let you know when we start our stream and when the next stream will happen. So go ahead and hit the like and be sure to subscribe and hit the bell button.
If you can get 100 or 420 likes before the stream ends, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, dude. Sorry, I'm looking at this other image. Today is a interesting day because there's just so much happening as far as like random structures on the ground, and so we've been trying to figure out what all of them are at the same time. And so I was just saying on the bottom of this booster, and I feel like I'm wrong now as I'm looking at it. I was just thinking that maybe this lip right here is where that structure could rest on, but I highly doubt you're going to put the entire weight of the booster on that structure.
So here, go ahead and pull up. I think it's this photo here that I just posted for you. It has the overflight photo showing a naked puck, and this is the 13 engine puck. It's the inner 13. So what you're looking at right now is the inner 13, the outer 13, a lot of pipes and tubing. So just right in the center of that image, you can see that looks like Spacey or Rover. I can't tell which crane that is that's moving that puck. But if you zoom in on that, you can see what that would look like.
Second. So I'm actually going to switch over to the. Sorry about that, guys. Kind of got thrown off a little bit by that. Bit of an issue on that one.
But yeah, if you want to move around and show us what you're looking for on this image,
Yeah,
that'd
let's
be
go ahead.
helpful. But yeah, zoom in right in the very center there. Yeah, on that puck that the crane is working on. You can see the 13 engine mount. You have to really pull in tight on this image to get it. Yeah, I know the web browser just loves to to shift it over to the side when you zoom in. But yeah, so you can see the 13 engines, the 3 center, the 10 outer diameter. This would be the inner puck. So it's really there's 2 pucks: the outer puck, which is the outer 9-meter ring, and this is the inner 13. That basically is the same around the same diameter that black device is. So those probably do go together. This probably sits on top of it, and it might be just so that they can do welding. So there's a gap between the inner and outer ring, and they might be doing some sort of jig to weld things together. One thing that you are seeing with Starbase is a mass increase of proper jigs and setups and tooling, which has been a while since we've seen that. It's basically been very ad hoc. It's been very like, what do you need to make this happen? We'll build it and then move forward. Now it's like we're designing this from the other direction. So um, different rocket companies, for instance, Blue Origin, they build all of the facilities, the structures, the jigs, everything before the rocket is even close to being a viable rocket. Where SpaceX is basically doing it from the exact opposite direction, saying, what do we need to build this rocket, make it happen? Oh, that's another great picture of that jig or that puck. So that particular piece would be, I think, for that black piece that you have the outer 10 engines just basically as a whole for each one. That's what I think that diagram that was drawn and the dust would indicate. So, do we know which booster this one's for? I was thinking it was like booster 9.
Booster 9?
I think, or is this booster 8?
I would think 8. Oh, no.
Truth
The
is, it's
gents.
a B9. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Rohan agrees. So the gents all agree with you.
Okay. So yeah, the pace of change. You can even see that grid fin. We talked about that grid fin last week. There's a lot more to it, that it's changed quite a bit. They've gone through and made some massive improvements or changes to the vehicle. That Booster 9 is now going to have these. I guess you could call it like a waffle iron mesh or something like that. That it's increased the number, so they're constantly changing. That's why they don't want to make these expensive jigs like the one we see in that tent we were talking about before. They
And
don't
then
want to make them until they know they need them, because they're really expensive to build, and that precision tooling we saw to build that jig, it has to be precise down to like the less than a fraction of a millimeter.
Hey Thomas,
Yeah.
what is your opinion on why they changed the design of the grid fins? Could it be for they changed it right about the time when they added extra engines? Could that be the extra weight to compensate more drag? Maybe. I
So
heard a
they
couple of
it's
people talk about that.
oh, sorry about that. It's all about control. So they have to basically control the vehicle, and this will probably give them better control, and it will be able to say, slow down the vehicle even faster. So the more surface area, the more of those little fins that you have. So each of those grid fins literally has this little pointy end, and more of those pointy ends you have increases the dynamic drag during the hypersonic reentry. So that was something that has everything from N1 rocket to the Falcon 9. They have those grid fins attached. Now, the question that people have been asking is, will it fold in, or is it still going to be out? I think it's still going to be out, because going up, the surface area and tension that you're causing isn't nearly as great as when you're going down, and those little pointy parts are creating a lot of drag. So just because you've thrown in a few more engines shouldn't necessarily increase the size or number of those fins themselves.
The gents also were pointing out that Booster 10's transport stand is there as well. Or sorry, Puck. The Puck is there. Excuse me.
Okay.
Sorry. It's
I
in
was
the
just
top
like,
right corner. I know,
what?
I'm sorry.
It
My
must be,
head was thinking something
hidden
else.
away. But yeah, okay. So booster 10 right there.
Hmm.
It's poked out of the way as if they might be changing their minds on something, or it's just not ready yet.
And then the
All this,
bottom of the sorry.
well, I'd say that all the tooling or the little pieces next to it actually are well organized, as if they do plan on doing something. Just the stuff to the left, I think the stuff to the right is just garbage. Mosquito was are making nests there. You can see there's plenty of water.
Well, and on the left, they say that the part of the booster header tank is also there. You can kind of see the cone-shaped ring. It's by the fin on the bottommost fin.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that ring right there to the left and the one to the right. Yeah, those are for the header tanks. I was like looking at the image where you were looking at, going, "What? Oh, Golden Boy, we can't hear you. I think you're muted."
Oh, that was my fault. I was like, why aren't these guys responding to me?
Good
Yeah,
call,
you were being
Thomas. I
really
was
quiet for
wondering.
the longest time, and I'm like,
Right?
"Are you upset with me or something? What's going
Even
on?"
I
No,
thought that. I was like,
I thought I was talking that whole time, guys. Hey, it's okay. It's
We're having a conversation with a ghost.
yeah, for sure. Apologize for that, guys. Um, so I guess everything I was gonna say, I'm not about to just repeat all of that, but
you could. We
we're
didn't
good.
hear it, so.
We're good. There's one more thing I wanted to touch on at the wide bay really quick, if you guys don't mind. These down here, I've been waiting for them to finally, because they've been stacking these on top of each other for the longest time, and it's really hard to see what they look like when they're unstacked. And now that I'm looking at them again, I'm also confused again. So these right here look a little bit different than the Zegers on the side, or sorry, these look like the ones from the side where they put the paneling on, but they're spaced out a lot further. So I don't know, Thomas. I'm thinking that these may actually be where the windows get mounted to versus where the panels get mounted to. You know what I mean? Because this is a roof section right here. This is clearly roofage.
It all kind of looks like the same material for that. There's like Ziegert, and then there's Ziegert for the roof, and it has like a special other name. Basically, it's the same stuff. I think
Right.
they call it a Perlin is the name that Ziegert on the roof goes by.
So the reason this one's a roof one just for this. Let's see right here. So on the, I'm gonna have to get a better image. So you guys can see that on the back side over here, we kind of talked about this last week about how this slopes all the way up to the front. And these get taller as they go. And after this point is where this gets mounted to, or this goes on top of the, basically from here back to have that slope keep going all the way up to the front. So this is a roof section. This one right here is a roof section, and those are actually the middle two. So they go right here and right here. And these ones, I don't think they have to, let's see, they may have some laying on the ground for that actually. It would look very similar to just this part, but without the rails. So I guess that's actually, here, that's actually these right here then, maybe. Does that look the same, Thomas?
They all look like roof material to me.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell.
So the issue right now is that there is no clippings for any wall structure at all. So there's no Ziegert pieces, or if you look at the ground photos, I'll send you here another one. that they obviously have a no pieces to work with. So this is it's being strange, but this is what I mean.
So hold on 1 second. So you're talking about I'm at the ground images of the wide bay right here.
Yeah. So there's no points at which they can clip into. So they normally, as they're building the structure, there's some
Sorry, let me
little
try
things
to
like you just like as you have the roof.
Was
There's
that a bad
something you
angle?
can clip
Was
into.
this right here a good one?
Yeah, that's a great one. So if you go down a little bit, you can see that each one of those Z-girts are attached to an I-beam going up, but there is nothing to attach Z-girts onto going up in any of that. So it's a very different structure in the way that they're connecting. So there's a Z-girt right there, but the rest of the wall going down, there is nothing. So it means that they either have to weld it. Oh, that one on the right is all bent and messed up.
Yeah, they'll probably have to fix that. But you can tell, yeah, this is where they will attach the rest of it to. So from here to here.
Yeah, and that's just for one Z-girt panel, but there should be others. So I guess this thing is going to get windows, maybe some really big windows. And so they're going to have to do some custom work to attach it to it. So they're going to probably weld a bunch of clips onto the side rails of the I-beams. Then they're going to be able to attach windows and things like that directly to that structure.
Yeah, and that see, this is the only reason I keep like trying to figure this out, because I'm trying to determine what kind of windows it's going to look like, and it's hard to tell if it's just going to be a huge pane, like of glass with no supports on the middle of it, or if it's going to be like square windows like this. So that's the only reason why I always come back to this area to try and figure that out. I know for some people you're like, why do you guys care? But that's the reason. We're just trying to figure out what those windows are going to look like. Because it kind of tells you a lot about what they expect to do with the structure. I mean, by now we've heard that they, I mean, we've kind of been saying it for weeks now that we're at least hoping, if not just assuming, that it would be used for, mission control purposes. But
or a really awesome office. Either way, it's got a view.
Yeah, I mean, so now it seems like a lot more sources out there are kind of saying that that they may use it as a mission control room, which would be really awesome. And that I would expect you're going to have windows up there for sure, instead of just continue up all the way with a windowless structure. That would be pretty depressing on the inside, I imagine.
As large as those
Yeah.
gaps are,
TV screens,
sorry, as large as those gaps are, I would expect to be either a large number of panels, and it would not have the Z-girts behind the panel. That would look horrible. So they would basically be something else. So the pieces you're seeing down there are all probably the roof. I wouldn't expect to see anything else go on the sides until they're ready to do the paneling for the windows, or soon before they do paneling for the windows. There'll be probably a lot of welding going up there and some scaffolding and all that structure to add the additional elements that they need for the windows. I'm thinking like each one of those, if those were each a glass panel, those would be extremely expensive. Oh, I don't want to look at the bill for $100,000 window like that. Jeez. And it'd have to be blast resistant to some extent, because there's going to be a large amount of noise headed that direction
Right.
from the launch site.
That's why I'm expecting there to be some sort of backing on it. Just to, I mean, if you look at the old Apollo mission control room, similar to that, but not quite the same. I don't have an image of that one. We've shown it on previous episodes, but yeah, we can move on. I feel like we've been talking about that one for quite a while. I'm just really excited to see the wide bay getting close to being done, because especially while Booster 7 was being worked on, it seemed like they weren't able to do anything else, because they kind of had it in the middle of the entrance for a while. So once this gets completed, then situations like that wouldn't be quite as bad, because you have you just move it over to the side. If you're working on something that's damaged, you move it over to the side, and then you have 3/4 of the bay still that you can use, instead of pretty much shutting down most of the bay if you have what you're working on is in the front. So I'm really happy for this to hopefully get close to being open soon, at least on the inside. I imagine they may need to still close up these just before they allow themselves to like actually start working in there. But I don't think that they're going to need to fully build out the roof structure before they start using the actual bay itself. So we will.
We've got
we'll
that
see.
tent there again. What was that? Say that again, Mauricio. Oh, I'm sorry, Golden Boy.
Oh no, go ahead. I was just zooming in on that.
I want to say that we've got that structure we talked about before. So we've got scaffolding around it, and then I was measuring it around 6.3 meters based off the shipping containers, which are 8 foot in width. But yeah, that's a perfect circle, and you can see that it's machining that piece of on-site machining that they have. Literally, that's the company name that's doing that, or in place
Oh really?
machining. Yeah,
On-site machining.
it's on-site machining from in place machining. Sorry,
That's what an original name right there.
boring company. I mean, it's real original.
All right. Well, I think we are right next to the ring yard, so we might as well touch on what is going on over there. Actually, let's switch to a better view of it first.
And while you switch, can we call out a couple of things? We want to say thank you to Tom Meganhorn, who donated $4.99 and said love the videos. Also to Jack Stirk, who was kind enough to put in a super chat that says a booster full of thanks. And then you all received a very kind compliment from Gerard Hammond. He said, I look forward to this show at 3 a.m. here in Australia. You guys have hit upon a great format for this show. Fantastic. P.S. Thank you, Mauricio, Thomas, and GB and all. I guess I'm all.
Well, thank you guys as well for being here with us, especially this early in the morning in Australia. Always get excited that you guys are willing to wake up just to see this stuff. I mean, especially being able to participate in the live chat. So we're glad that you guys enjoy this content and continue to come back every week. And hopefully this continues to grow, especially as SpaceX starts to actually be able to become operational again and not just in suspense mode. I think that this is going to take off even more. So we're glad you guys are here for it.
Yeah, thank you again, Jastrisk, Tom, and Gerard. So we've got those rings in the ring yard. There's only so much you could do to say like which one does what. Obviously, they've got a booster ring up at the top, or I'm sorry, the center left image of that.
Yeah,
So,
I was actually. Oh, you're talking about this one?
No, just to the left, right there. Yeah, that one's the obviously for super heavy. And that it could be for anything until we get a ground shot of a lot of these things. And I know that the ring watchers have been going crazy trying to figure out which ones go for where and looking for labels every place they can get it
Right.
And they
labeled.
have it
they'll get
here. It's
Have we?
B8 aft number 5 quad.
Thank you, Rohan, for that.
Have we seen the new versions of these yet? Is this the first time?
Those are the new versions. Look at that. It's got.
I've been really excited to see these. I was trying to get them from a different angle where the light shines off a little better. But on the
Look at that,
previous
two
booster,
Starlinks.
we can compare them right now. Yeah, so the other booster only had one on each panel, correct?
Yeah, so it was one Starlink on each panel, and now it has two, and it's facing in different directions. So
here we go.
they only have two hydraulic power units, but they want 4 Starlinks for different directions, and they can't communicate towards the south to the polar. Not polar, but yeah. So there you go. There's only one on each of these.
On booster 4, yeah, they only have one on each one versus having 2. Do you think that having them equal, like spread on 4 sides of the vehicle, communication wise, is actually better than what they're going to end up having now, as far as having them basically be on only two sides of the vehicle versus?
Not necessarily. It's just the angle that's necessary here. So they're angling it towards other Starlink satellites. The dish itself, basically, it's able to steer itself electronically. So it doesn't have to go through and aim towards its the direction it's wanting to communicate. So cell towers do the same thing. So this is acting basically the same way you have your electronic steering. Basically, it's called a waveform. That it's I'm thinking of the term, but I'm not remember the correct name. But anyways, it steers the wave or waveguide, basically electronically, to change the direction. So you can see that's the top of this one, and the other one at the top is face the other direction.
Right. Yeah, when you get this angle, you can kind of see how you're almost a 90-degree angle between them.
And the term is phased array. Thank you
Mhm.
for that, spoil sport.
I noticed that they actually. Hold on one second.
GP, one thing to note before you go too far, there was a question as well. The groundwork at the ring yard. Do you think that they're prepping for a Star Factory? And actually, Peanut had a question. Are they preparing footings at the ring yard?
So that's kind of what it appears that they. I mean, these are about. Let's see. I'd have to show the Star Factory. So let me actually get an image up from the Star Factory first before I swap over there. So at the Star Factory, you can kind of see the way that these are spaced out as far as these squares right here. Hold on. They're kind of hard to see. So you have the ones on the left side of the building are further apart than what the interior ones. You have long spacing and then short, long, short, long. And on that same image that we were just looking at in the ring yard, I don't know if that spacing looks the same to me.
It's only meant for moving the rings around inside of that. It looks like it's meant to be able to take 9-meter diameter rings and basically move it through. Each of those footings are just for the support for a column. The column is not going to be that size. It's just going to be in the center of that position. But
Right.
you can obviously see that you can go in any direction you need to. It's going to be a little bit of Tetris to play with the columns there, because you have to work with that. But yeah, it looks like they are planning on building a foundation for at least a tent of sorts, something to cover the rings from the elements. That's one problem that they have, is a lot of dust on the rings themselves, and I have to go through and clean things, and especially the areas around the welds before they do anything.
So if you put a canopy over this, that would stop you from putting anything like this out there, right?
Well, it depends on how big the canopy is, but yeah.
I guess it. Yeah, I guess it could be a pretty large canopy. Honestly, I'm actually hoping to see that. I initially was kind of thinking that maybe they could build some sort of like storage rack for rings, so that's a little bit more organized. And on top of that, this almost looks like I'm imagining a large gantry crane going across this. I mean, from a shipping. I mean, this would you would see lots of prep work before this happened. But I'm just imagining like a rack built here that you can actually come in here with a crane and lift things out and bring them to the outside, so you are actually able to fit more stuff in here. Okay.
One unintuitive answer is maybe those things we were thinking are for the top of wide bay for the roof, are maybe the panels for this structure, and it's just in reverse order, that you're building the panels before you actually build the structure itself. Uh, I wouldn't think that would be the case, but you never know. They have a lot of construction operations going on in parallel.
And so this is the inside of one of those header tanks, the new ones, correct?
Looks like it's part of a header tank of sorts, or the downcomer portion. So it would be like the bottom of the
Mhm.
the the methane. I'm sorry, the methane to locks for the booster. It's the interface, and
So
then the downcomer would go in the very center of that.
it's noted as the aft dome of the header tank. Just
Oh,
as
okay. Aft dome of the header tank. Okay, so that's the bottom of the vehicle. I'm
Mhm.
thinking of the middle of the vehicle.
And before we get too far, I want to really thank Thomas Bolden for his $50 donation. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you more than life itself. Thank you so much.
What was his last name?
Bolden?
Okay, I was like,
Thomas.
did they just take Thomas's first name and my last name and stick it together?
How funny would that be? That would be amazing. He'd be like the best of both
Be a
worlds.
little
Probably
slightly
is.
creepy, but
Only to you and Thomas. To the rest of us, we'd be like in awe.
what what are these? These just look like RVAC related to me for some reason.
Well, and to the left on the wood crates as well, they are. looks like.
They might be parts for the engines for the
All right,
mounts
down.
to do protection. So they to the left, you see that black piece. It
Mhm.
looks like it's part of a covering for the engines, so probably RVACs.
Yeah, we were talking about it potentially when there's ground photos, I believe, similar to this, and we were thinking maybe it was part of that mini skirt that goes around the Raptors.
And it
Right.
might be
Yeah.
that those are just the remove before flight rings that they have on the RVACs.
Yeah,
Which,
that's what I was thinking, which would mean that they're here, right?
yeah, that implies that we might have RVACs on site.
That's kind of where I was like thinking if I don't know if this actually goes on the vehicle, but it just looks like the part of what they ship them with. So
Wouldn't that mean that they should be Raptors in there?
Not necessarily in there, just on site somewhere. There might be RVACs just sitting there.
we haven't seen them yet, but I don't know. I'm just looking for signs of them. Hoping. I mean, they're
We
once
knew
they
we
go into
had
10,
at
you never
least
know.
we knew we had at least 3, possibly 6 Raptors on site. We missed a whole 10. So yeah, there's definitely room to say that there could be RVACs on site. Um,
And
that would be
did we
huge.
really
But
miss it, or did they hide it? Because I feel that they have like an underground tunnel that they built to hide things from us.
they do have a boring company, true,
There
but I
you
don't think
go.
they would spend the amount of money that would take to do just that.
Well,
Uh,
you never know, considering he owns the Boring Company.
True, but I don't think he wants to keep things out of public's eyesight that much. It's just easier to bring things in, and if you really wanted to do that, just bring it into the tent, and you have your problem solved as far as visuals of the artifacts. Did I just give him an idea? I probably just gave him an idea. Darn.
You're gonna ruin it for everybody.
I blame you, Thomas.
We already missed the M10 RVAC, or not RVACs, but boosters, so I think we're already set there.
So I was just sorry for scrolling through those so quickly, guys. I was just trying to see if I could get a better image of this area. It almost looks like they're going to extend that roof around this, but it doesn't look right to me. I would just think they would just build it out like they did this part, but
Oh, the shipping containers, they are offices, storage, everything under the sun. They have the ability to be. Yeah, those do look kind of like something for RVACs, but I need a ground shot to confirm. And we can't get any ground shots in that area. So, unless actually from the front entrance, we might be able to see something through the racks there.
Listen, I always say Mauricio can work magic. I don't doubt that Mauricio will one day get us that shot, if not sooner than later.
He may have already gotten us that shot. We just haven't looked. So I'm gonna look right now and see if I can spot it.
yeah, you never know. We may have it.
Okay, I have an image of that area. It might not be the spot exactly, but it's to the top right of that truck I just posted. Is that area we'd be looking for? But yeah, thank you again, Mauricio, for taking all these pictures. It does take quite a bit of time and effort to do this. And if you ever have special requests, do you pull those off of Patreon or other locations, Mauricio?
I mean, for the most part, I take photos of everything, so I think that pretty much covers everything in general.
He's like, I don't
But,
miss.
but either
If
way,
it's out there, I got a picture of it.
I always ask GB Zach to give me a shot list of the most important items to cover, and I usually go from there. But I mean, Patreons and YouTube members, if you all have any special requests, send them to me. The schedules usually I do flyovers on Wednesdays and backup date is on Thursday, and I typically go out to get ground shots on Thursday or Friday. So if you have any special requests, you can join our Discord and send them through there.
Okay, so I've got the area. You've got the shot. If you want to pull those up, Golden Boy, I put them in the live comms again for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got the shot, and
picture.
we've got some other stuff to talk about there that we were looking at from up above. So there they are, those rings. They're a little bit taller than I thought they'd be. They're up above, above everything else there. So
Is that them right here?
yeah, that's them right there.
Those are rings?
Those are the rings, yeah, up on top.
Are we sure?
I'm sure. I'm looking at the same area. This would be with wide bay to the far right of the
Let's go
image, and
back and
then
look.
high bay is going to be to the left.
Let's check
And it
one more time.
might be a little bit out of focus, but I think there might actually be a better photo. If I find it, I'll post it there.
No, I think he's right. I mean, you look at the you could see the wood panels right here, so it kind of looks the same.
Yeah, it's always kind of deceptive trying to see what's going on at Starbase and looking from the ground level and aerial shots. You're like, is this the same spot? And I've done it for so long that it's like, oh yeah, I know exactly where this is at.
Yeah. You have an eye like that. You and GB both in different ways, but very good at just boom spotting things that are like. For me, it looks like a bunch of gobbledygook sometimes. So yeah. Speaking of
Ooh,
gobbledygook,
what is this?
Well, got a better picture of that, and the
Same
background is a
thing.
little bit more in focus.
GB, same thing. We were talking about it going around the Raptors.
Yeah, so those are the panels. But what's really strange is that I'm expecting that should be completely encased on one side and clipped on the other, but that looks like it goes all the way around unless I'm missing some detail there. But yeah, this would go be part of the RVACs and the power head unit. So it protects the power head from heat and other issues. And Elon has specified or said something to the effect that they may no longer go that direction, which is quite enlightening to say that, oh yeah, they don't need to protect them anymore from heat or other issues.
Why would they not need to protect them? What would
Because
change?
version 2, they have less wiring and less things to
see.
damage, and they just mitigate those areas as much as they need to with extra insulation. And then
And they
this would
change the
basically
interface.
this would be redundant potentially. So we might be looking at old junk or a new form of old junk.
So there's a question from Black Eagle Gaming asking, what would you call a Raptor 2 vacuum? Is it R2 vac, RVAC 2? Do you guys have thoughts on that?
I don't know actually. I feel like it's
Two
tough. It's tough to name them because then they're gonna come out with another one, and then we'll be all sad because we had to change our name again, just like the wide bay.
I like 2 vac.
2 vac.
Yeah.
That was actually quite funny, Thomas. Real fast before you move on, we want to call attention and say thank you to a couple of super chats. One $20 donation from Robert M. saying thank you for the great photos and explanation you bring to us. And one $20 donation from Mike Smith, who also says thanks. Thank you, gents. We appreciate it.
You saying 120, and I'm like, wait, one $20 donation or 120? And you meant one $20
ONE $20 $20 donation.
Okay, well, thank you each of you. Still, that's very generous.
Very generous, and gets us closer to securing our next flyover, weather permitting, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I was really glad that this flyover happened this week. I think Mauricio tries to play with my emotions sometimes. He messaged me on Wednesday, and he was like, "Hey, the flyover's not happening." And I was like, "Wow, that sucks, man." I was all sad. And then 5 hours later, I see him post that he completed the flyover. I was like,
Yeah, well, okay, so Wednesday it didn't happen because of the weather situation, but then on Thursday, that's when I texted you that. But it's one of those things where I kind of feel bad sometimes because people think I don't want to do the flyover. But the thing is that the weather has to be favorable, like about 4 hours before the scheduled time. If it's not, I guess we're kind of used to that, right? With rocket launches, if the weather's not favorable hours before, and well, the thing is that if it's not favorable 4 hours before the takeoff time, then we don't do it. I don't want to make the pilot drive all the way to the airport and then for the weather not to cooperate. So we got to make sure that it's, we're set to go, and we don't want to waste our time, or we don't want to waste a flyover just flying around hoping that it works out, or that the clouds clear out by the time we're on top of the site. So, but hopefully, thankfully it did. Fortunately it did, and like I said, with next opportunities on Wednesday and backup date on Thursday.
Fingers
crossed.
I'm glad
you got it this Thursday, because if we somehow miss next week, we will not be able to see probably the rest of the the structure as it is like this, they're going to be pretty much done with the rest of building this building within the week or maybe 2 weeks, depending on weather. Weather's bad
So
enough that you can't fly, they might not be able to build.
I actually just noticed something that I wanted to point out. I was looking to see if I could find it from the ground instead of showing it from the aerials, but um, in the meantime, so we kind of talked about this last week, and I thought I was crazy that the building is. So my initial thought is that this building might just gradually, continually slope up until it reaches its final height, and then level out. And when you see a lot of pictures from the ground, you can't really tell whether or not it's truly sloping up, or if it just comes up in the middle and then goes back down. But you can kind of see right here that the railing on the outside, there's like 1, 2, 3 rails, and then as you get closer down here, right here, there's 2, and then when you get close to the end, there's only 1. So it looks like the roof actually is sloping up. It's getting taller as it's going. So it'll be interesting to see if it just continues to get taller as it goes, or if it just steps up to the next height immediately. But I mean, it's not like a massive increase or in height over that length. So Thomas, what did you say the
It was about 50 feet on
from here to here, the width of the building?
Oh, it was like 280 feet, I think, and then it was like 400 feet for the length of it.
Right. So let me look at this ground image of it. So you can kind of tell with this man basket back here. I would say in between here is like 3 feet, 3 or 4 feet, probably 6 feet total. So you're only climbing 6 feet over. What did you say the width was?
Well, the height or the width of this?
The width of the building.
About, I think it was like 280 feet. I'd have to go back and check, but we had to reinstall everything on my computer, so things are kind of a mess there.
Yeah, so that would be you're climbing 6 feet over 280 feet of length, which is not that much, but it's still definitely getting taller.
Oh, that fence is only like 3 feet high. It's not that high. It's maybe 4 feet. So it's just a safety railing.
So it depends on where you're talking about, like which part is where is 4 feet?
Probably on the right side. So this would be maybe. Oh yeah, I can see this where it gets to be about 6 feet because you're
down
really
here.
decreasing in height quite a bit.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they keep doing that. It's weird. I mean, because it looks like it's railing, like hand railing, so that you can actually walk on the roof, but it's almost like creating a pan. You know what I mean? Because if you put paneling up on the outside of that, and then you have paneling on the inside of here, and you slope up down here, that you won't even have handrails anymore. It's just like I'm trying to imagine like a comparison of what that looks like. You know what I mean? Like almost like a loading dock. Imagine if you pull in and it decreases and your truck's back in right here, and there was a taller structure on this side. Like this would be like where the truck's back into. Like it looks like. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm gonna move on.
Well, there's a lot of buildings and structures that will be. It's a kind of a bowl shape that they have a roof material on top, like a tar roof or whatever, and water does kind of accumulate in certain areas or others, but it is not out of the realm that they would do something like that. However, they're not using tar. They're using the same kind of stuff you see on like how to put it, like a house in the middle of the mountains. It has this type of roof material. I forget what it's called now, but it's basically just a bunch of not perforations. It goes up and down, and then it goes straight. Corrugated, yeah. It's a corrugated type of material. It's a little bit different from like the weavy corrugated, but it's flat. It goes up and then it goes down and it's flat. But just think of that, what you see in the movies for an area in the mountains, a green roof. It's actually that material above your mouse, Golden Boy. That's the roof material up there.
In Cali, we
those
call
are
them
all
fire
panels.
roofs. because we have the red tiles, and they're called fire roofs because they protect our houses from fire when the fire starts, because there's always fires here.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bad fire year for sure.
Now, mind you, we've been having lots of super chats that we really want to call out and thanks. We have
Yeah,
a
let's go ahead.
£4.99 euro donation from Crow Guy. He gives you all a thumbs up, gives all of us a thumbs up. Jackstrix donated $20 from all of the RGV watching Fems. Thank you. And yay, Fems rule. And then Jim Cavett also donated another $5 saying, best way to spend a Saturday. Thanks, guys and gal. Woohoo, I'm Miguel. And then we also have a question from Ayush. Ayush asks, if we assume that FAA completes their, never mind, the question is cut off. Please continue.
Well, I think it's supposed to be like the PEA or something like that. And so, yeah, I don't see the rest of the question there. So if Mikhail could go through and repeat, finish the question.
Ayush?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying his name is Ayush.
Ayush. Okay. Ayush Nikal, thank you. But yeah, the PEA should be done by the end of this month, by the 30th, and then they'll probably post it on the 31st. That's what they seem to do. So we'll hold our breath on the 30th, and be like, it's not out yet. And actually, on the 31st is when it is officially said, yes, we are done, because we finalized it on the 30th. That is if everything goes smoothly. And it seems that that's the same way that happens with the site. It's the day that you expect something to happen. It's actually happened, a week before sometimes, and they update it either the day of or the day after. So, anyways, the PEA should be moving along pretty well. The two agencies that are still involved, which would be the Department of Interior, which is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and the other one, somehow the Commerce Department with NOAA. NOAA somehow is involved in that as well. I've looked up the issues, and it seems that they're worried about contamination of biological material from Boca Chica somehow ending up in the Pacific Ocean off of the coast of Hawaii, and somehow adversely impacting the fish there, and maybe also the debris that Starfish could have. And the thing that they mentioned would be the only thing that might float temporarily would be the COPVs. But we've seen the breakups of these vehicles. COPVs, they might float, but they kind of break up on impact of the ground, or in this case, water.
They sure do.
Yeah, there's not going to be much of an issue, I think. There, it's just they need to be reassured from SpaceX and the FAA on what will happen and what cleanup mitigation things that will be taking place if there is an issue there. Oh, here's the rest of the question. If we assume that FAA completes their review by the 31st of May and gives SpaceX launch license in June, but is it SpaceX ready to launch in June? I would think July would be the launch period that they could do it by if they really pushed. But August is more likely, just to say they do need a lot more to happen. I have a theory that the integration tower paneling and the kettle boilers and a bunch of other things, they are waiting for the launch license, or at least the PEA, some part of the process, to go ahead and do those things. Because right now they are operating under a suborbital launch license. Yeah, go ahead, Golden Boy. You were wanting to talk about stuff here.
Oh no, sorry. I was just scrolling through there. I was trying to find. I was just kind of scrolling through here just in general. I wasn't looking at anything in particular. I was kind of wondering what is underneath these. I've been checking back in this area every week just to see what's underneath these tarps, but we've yet to
hopefully not more tarps,
right? Just like a whole pallet of tarps.
Yeah.
So we do have a couple of questions if you guys are up for it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Too Legit to Quit asks, do you think that there will be a second entrance on the ring yard side of the building? I think
this would be the Star Factory.
I believe so.
Yeah, there should be one from the ring yard side and one from the other side. I got the direction backwards. I was thinking that they were going to have it towards the mudflat side, because that's where it looked like they had a hole left open. They closed that one up, and it closed that option up for me. So it looks to be, yeah, it's on the Highway 4 side that you have an entrance on both sides, so you can go in one side and out the other. And they might cut some other openings for other things, but I don't know if they're going to do anything for large rings down the 3 aisles for openings. They only should have at least 2 openings, one on the entrance and one on the exit. It's a factory, and factories are kind of like that.
Look at the box. And then Ayush actually finished his question, but I believe you guys answered it. He asks if we assume that FAA completes their review by 31st May and gives SpaceX a license to launch in June, is SpaceX ready to actually do a launch in June? I'm hoping for July. I know, Thomas, you're saying August, but July is special to me, and I hope July.
Is there
And
a
Maurice,
is there a special someone's birthday happening in July?
perhaps. And we're supposed to go down
Nice.
and visit in July, remember?
Yeah,
All of us.
I'm looking forward to do it in July. We just need to nail
GB?
down a date. But as Mauricio pointed out, he wants to take us up on a flight. But if we're all there at the same time,
No, that just means we'll do a
someone
flight
has to,
every day of the week. Then
or
each one of
somebody
us
has to
can
ride on the
go.
wing, and I don't think that's allowed.
Hey,
Mauricio, how do you
Mauricio,
feel about 3 or 4 flyovers in 1 week?
that sounds expensive.
I've actually done 3 flowers in 1 week at one point.
Hey,
But it was, I don't know what was wrong with me. I was broke for a whole week. I ran out of
I don't
money.
think there's anything. Oh,
It was
you mean
that
afterwards?
time. It was that time when they were gonna stack. They were gonna do the full stack the very first time, so I didn't want to miss that, and it worked out. But I was broke for that week.
Yeah, so we're not going to be able to do that. We can't all be down there at
We
the
can
same
do
exact
anything,
time.
Thomas.
Ah,
We might
true.
be able to do it. And we won't break Mauricio if he has enough money and we all pitch in. Just saying, it's doable.
See what we
True.
can do. um,
Yeah, let's talk about the box.
Yeah,
What's in
this
the
box
box?
right
What's
here,
going in the box? What is the
Starlink.
box?
According to SpoilSport, Starlink.
I don't see how you're going to get the Starlink satellites into the box unless you're going to put them through the same hole that are going to be used for the uh, deployment of the Starlinks out of the same hole, and that's the hole that you see at the top. You can see that they put on a cross beam to allow them to pick it up and not fold it on itself. So boxes are not really the best of structures unless they have a top of some sort to help be more rigid. So that little cross beam is for being able to pick it up, and you can see they've got 4 points to pick it up at each corner, one at each corner, really.
and we have the SPMTs over here waiting to move. I mean, this angle that they have to hit in order to get out of here, it almost like it. There's no way they're using both of these, right? Like, how are you going to get both of them in here and angle out?
Those 2 cars to the right need to move.
Yeah, you got to get out the way. I
But
mean,
yeah,
if they can hit this
it'll work.
angle, then they never need to move anybody in front of the launch site again. They're like, oh yeah, can you guys back up a little bit? And I'm like, nah, man, I've looked at the aerials. I know you guys have hit tighter angles than that.
These
I've
guys
been
are
out there.
pros.
You got this.
I've been out there when they're moving them, and they get in pretty tight places. So I wouldn't be surprised if they get through.
I was trying to get to an image like to see it from the opposite angle. This might work right here. Interesting. Yeah, this is. I mean, it's definitely still a mystery structure. That's for sure. I don't know if it's moved yet, but we're definitely keeping our eye on that one. Not really a whole lot other than speculation on that one. So I don't know if we.
Yeah, my bunker
think
theory is
we-
kind of shot because that hole in the bottom just doesn't make sense. It's not a good viewing window for one, since it's right next to what would be the ground. Any way that let's say if you picked it up, like why would you pick it up and let's say rotate it? Sometimes they build stuff upside down, but this is large enough that we've seen them, flip over domes and other structures. They're good at flipping things.
Yeah.
But they'd have to have a whole jig to do that. I don't see a jig or anything set up to do a flip. I'm looking for a ground photo that Mauricio also took, and it actually shows the entrance, that little hole at the bottom from the ground level, and it does kind of show what is going on there a bit. I can't remember which photo number it was. If anybody else wants to grab it and stick it into the live comms, that'll help.
What is it you're looking for? I'm sorry.
The ground photo of this structure here. I've got one right here.
Which structure where?
The box, the
Okay,
magic
thank
mystery
you.
box.
I got you. I got you. Senti actually mentioned that he's thinking it might be for a catchment for deluge, and it might get buried somewhere. That's a new thought I hadn't heard. The box.
Well, if they're gonna bury it somewhere, I would say that it may have to be at the launch site, and we would maybe hopefully see them preparing the ground for that. I haven't really noticed anything over there yet, but we can definitely go over there and check for it.
That's a nice Cadillac. Just saying.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at right here. Kind of caught my eye.
I've got that ground image of that the mystery
Oh, you
structure
got it?
there. Yeah,
Right
so it's
on.
in the live comms there.
I still think it's the floating stage that Kanye's going to jump, or Elon's going to jump out of to join Kanye on stage.
It's pretty strong. They've welded this to great lengths with the paneling and everything else, but it's very unusual. So you can see at least the bottom part of that structure where it's open. It's got rounded holes, so it's really strong on that. It does remind me of the Starship, the same way it's rounded on that as well for the payload dispenser. But honestly, this could be something a little bit more unusual where it could be on top of a building inside of, let's say, high bay or wide bay, not on top, but in the inside of the building. And then they have to lower stuff, let's say the Starlink satellites, into the payload dispenser. And then this will dispense them into the Starship and then up into the rest of it. Maybe, but it's really weird. Like, however, this is working.
So Alaska Space says Stumpy Cage.
So yeah, I mean, if it was related to Starlink, I would almost expect it to be curved on this back face so that you could bring it up against the vehicle and transfer things from here to the vehicle. Like especially if you were, like bring the vehicle into the high bay and then lift this cage up with the bridge crane and put it up next to the Starship and load them in here. But I don't know. I mean, they're supposed to have an entire vehicle integration assembly or payload integration assembly vehicle building, and I don't think that. I don't know. I guess without that a whole facility for it, they would need something like this or something specially made just for it until they build an entire vehicle assembly building or payload integration building. But I don't know. This just doesn't look right to me for that purpose. But
Neither does it for me. It's just a theory that it's like it's one of the only theories that still holds any water. But it's still a sinking boat on that one too. Until we see some more evidence to prove one way or another on things, it's hard to figure out what these things are for sometimes. So the bunker idea kind of dead, just because of that hole there. It doesn't make any sense, and the rest of it, again, it's just there's things that do and do not fit, and we will eventually see that it works for something. Maybe it is for robotic welding. It's just very strange to have a hole like that just for the robotic welders. Maybe it's something completely different. Maybe it's for a kiln or some other part of the process of the Starship. We won't know until they do something more with it. Unfortunately, it's going to take some time to do that.
All right. Well, let's move on. It's almost what is it, 2:00? So I know everybody wants to get to the launch site, so we gotta move on a little bit north before we get there. And we kind of mentioned this last episode. Thomas, do you want to explain what this area is?
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot more clear now.
Every truck there is United Rentals, and it's not for SpaceX. It's only for United Rentals. So they are somehow subleasing this from SpaceX to fix all the boom lifts, the forklifts, the tunnel loaders, all of it. Everything that's rented from United Rentals, including the generators, they have to go through do maintenance and repair work on these. Instead of sending them all the way back, like, what was it, 40, 60 miles or something like that to their location where they're being worked on in the maintenance yard and stored and those kinds of things. They're doing it here on site. There is so much work going on that they do need a place like this to work on this stuff continuously. It's a great relationship, I think, for United Rentals and SpaceX to be able to have that yard just for repair work, repair whatever,
Well,
everything.
hopefully they build them an office building soon.
Well, that blue area right there might be the office building.
I don't see any AC connected to it. Oops. Let's see.
Well, it's an office building just for teleloaders.
Why do teleloaders need an office building?
Well, because apparently that's what's sticking out of it right there.
I don't have another angle of it. I don't think so. Yeah, it's the only side of it that I have right now. Yeah, I was trying to see like inside of it if it's just like a
Oh no, there's literally a teleloader sticking out of that building, so it's just
yeah,
it's basically a garage.
Shit.
Oh, wow.
That's
Big
why I said it
garage
was an
doors.
office for teleloaders. Little
Yeah.
joke there.
And once again, there is not much going down here except for the BFC having been moved out.
Yeah, that looks like if you scroll in a little bit more, you can see some red lines. He's creating little boxes for some columns to be put up right there. So you can see there's like the far right is really easy to see the chalk line on that.
Yeah.
The little box that he's going through and digging away. And you can see on the left, he's digging away at that first or second box, I mean. First one's already done.
Yeah, I was
Would
just
those
looking at the spacing to see if they're about the same as this one over here or not.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, would they be the same size as the other ones that we saw, or even the ones at Star Factory, where they're going to build Star Factory?
Oh, well, that's a good question. Those are 40-foot shipping containers. So, you could think of a Starship ring just below 30 feet in diameter. So you could not fit a ring through those. Those are like 10 feet apart, maybe 20 feet apart. Because you can see the boxes they're laid out. So yeah, there's nothing going to be rings related here.
Is that truck dropping off more of the gosh, why can't I remember the name? Never mind.
There's all sorts of weird names and terms and all
K-wool.
sorts of things. Yeah,
The little white things, those are K-wool, right? The white rolls? Or insulation of some sort?
Those could just be plastic tarps. Those could be for a larger building. So the one we have, all the ring yard, this could be for the ring yard. There's a lot of material there to do the tarps. So they have those large pieces. You know how you have the buildings that are tents 1, 2, and 3. This is similar to looking like the tent material that, or it's just literally lots of plastic wrap. It's hard to tell which one it is.
Is it possible that they may line the roof of the Star Factory with this? Like insulation?
Or it could be insulation too. Can you zoom in a little bit more above that truck there? Okay, so I'm seeing some yellow stripes, so that would be insulation.
Ha!
So yeah, possibly for the Star Factory then. As soon as I get that roof up, probably start transporting these over there one by one and lining the inside of that roof. Yeah.
Roof and walls.
Get you some insulation.
Yeah, so one of the things that they have is that it was, I believe, 30 degrees Celsius is their set standard for the temperature room control. When they do the welding, they want the rings to be all uniform in the temperature that they're welding at. Otherwise, over that great of a distance, especially the circumference of 27 meters or something, you are dealing with a lot of change in length just due to temperature of a few degrees. So that's something they have to watch out for.
So I think it may be time for us to go to the launch site, Thomas.
Woohoo!
So I'm always excited to get here, and it's 2:00, so about 2/3 of the way through the show. So thank you guys again for joining us. I sound like I'm ending the show. Why do I sound like I'm ending the show? If you guys haven't liked the stream already, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. We definitely appreciate you guys being here, and if you haven't subscribed already, we highly recommend subscribing so you guys can get the notifications and you don't miss out on future episodes. So just want to say that one more time. Appreciate you guys for being here as always, and yeah, let's continue on.
Well, real quick here, I got a $10 donation from James Cavett. I believe that's Jim Cavett here on YouTube. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
You got that through PayPal, yeah?
Yes, I got the
Yeah.
notification here a few minutes
Very
ago.
nice.
Also, another note while we're with that stuff, if you are a member of Patreon, I believe it's tier 3 or above,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking YouTube as well should be able to get in here as
It
well.
is.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So YouTube and Patreon tier 3s and above, you can
So
join us in the studio.
SN3 for Patreon and early access and above for YouTube.
Yeah, they can join us here live in the studio, so you can listen to us, watch directly as we're doing the YouTube stream, and then we will jump down to the green room afterwards, and we can talk, and you can talk directly to us, and you ask direct questions, either in voice chat or on the we actually have a voice chat comments. So be sure to do that as well. It's directly through the Discord feature that is for Patreon tier 3 as well as YouTube and above. All right, let's
Yeah.
do some more exploration of the launch site.
Yeah, so one of the things we touched on last week down here was that they're finally starting to cover up this berm with a little bit more of a permanent layer on top. So they got some concrete that they're pouring on one slope of it, and it still looks to me like they're going to go all the way around it. You can kind of see the way that they're forming out this turn right here. So I mean, they could just stop right here, but I don't know. To me, it looks like they're going to go all the way around and concrete over all of that. So it kind of just keeps the whole site a little bit clean. I think it's be tough to figure this out. You have to go through week by week, but I'm sure that they've also been slowly parts of this area in here as well too. I'm not sure where the last one that they did was.
Everything I can see, there hasn't been really any changes to the suborbital fuel farm. So it's pretty much exactly as it's been the entire time that we've done our photography reviews. There's not much changes in this area. Over to the right, there is some concrete that they've poured a little while ago, and they ripped up some again. So it's like it was this way, and now it's back to the same way. Yeah, there's not too much besides that berm, and I think that they're just going to end cap it there so that the dirt doesn't go downhill to the rest of the area. And then the area just to the left on the pad A side where they're going to do all the static fires and other testing, I think that that's still going to be dirt. The reason why is if you put concrete down, it makes it a ramp. You launch your projectiles into things without slowing them down. The dirt, it actually does help absorb the impact. The issue was that the other side of the that berm, that mud and dirt just is flowing downhill due to erosion, and that's a big problem. And so by doing this, is they are removing quite a bit of erosion on that side of the fuel farm, going into that well, basically the fuel farm area. But one thing you can see that is just sitting there, it's a pretty obvious one. We have all three back wrap puck shuckers for the, I guess you could call them two vacs, and then the sea levels as well. Gotta bring that one up again.
Yeah, dude. Sorry, I was just distracted by these. I don't know. These
They go to
rebar
the left.
right here.
So the left on the other side where they have no
larger.
matting yet.
Look a
Yeah.
lot larger than those.
It is a lot larger than those.
Yeah, they look like they go on this side of it.
Ooh, we got some growbets. Nice.
There is a question about a berm around the methane tanks. I believe it was Crane Man asks, will there be a new berm to protect the 5 new methane tanks at the launch site? Since we're here, I thought I'd ask.
They did it on the orbital launch site side.
Yeah, we can go over there. Let's see. And then we'll have to come back to this side. So I don't think, I mean, we haven't really seen signs of a new berm yet, and I don't really know if how much it makes sense to do one. Yeah, I mean, you have at this point this structure kind of to some degree protects the tank farm from, or sorry, this side of the tank farm from any blast that's going to come through here. And then you do have most of the rest of the tank farm protected by the rest of the berm. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're going to be adding. I mean, there's no room for it really. It would have to.
You'd have to build a wall, not a berm specifically, to do that.
So I don't know if that fully answers the question. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the end of that berm. And if not, then they probably would have left that tunnel here so that they could still have access. So yeah, I think that might be as complete as it's gonna get. So, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll want to go back to those other areas before we get stuck onto this, because I'm wanting to talk about so much here.
Yeah, let's go back over to the suborbital area.
Thanks for
First.
taking the detour.
Yeah, for sure. We so we have this structure right here, which is in the progress of being built. We kind of talked about this last week. They were preparing that they had prepared this ground for it. So you can kind of see now that these type of structures are pretty much going up everywhere, which is a good sign. To me, I think even with the delays that they are having, every time we see another permanent structure going up, to me that means that obviously they're not planning on abandoning Starbase, right? So I think that they're expecting to get full clearance here, and that makes me, like, when I see things like this pop up, those are always positive signs to me. So
yeah, so the top of those the shipping containers, they've gone through and pulled all of that off. It is currently over at San Martin and Highway 4, the corner over there. I was wondering where they were putting those pieces, then I saw the pieces over there, and I was like, wait, are these for shipping containers? And they are for shipping containers, but it's for these shipping containers. So they've been pulling that up and moving it around.
What is it supposed to be? Just a building structure?
That's just storage, offices,
Okay.
might even be some break rooms, that kind of stuff. It's large enough to be for people and maybe even construction. There's a large door, so vehicles. It looks like you've got a window to the right at the top. There's not many sources of natural lighting, but yeah, there's a window right there.
if I
So
can get it from a different angle.
that would
Got a
work.
window right here.
Yeah. And then, of course, the entrance on the right, but there should possibly be another entrance to the left, which there's stairs just going right into the side of the building. I think
Right here.
an opening would be good to put into there, and it might be after the fact. Sometimes they do that kind of stuff where they'll have a window to the right and a door to the left. But right now, as far as construction goes, they just have the window for now, and they'll cut the material later.
We'll see what they end up doing with this. I'm wondering why they actually needed to remove the backside of this, but
But
And
it's
also-
probably runs into the side of it, and they want to connect it to the building itself.
because then you have this as a walkway up top as well too.
Maybe. I'm wondering if they're going to put solar panels on that area of the launch site as well at some point.
Are these not? No, these aren't solar panels, are they?
No, it's 304 or 301 stainless steel that they just put up as paneling in that area. They just had a lot of extra stainless steel rolling around. I wonder why.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to generate enough power for their needs with the solar down here, but they still do have generators all over the place. That's what these are right here.
Yeah.
And there's some at the suborbital farm. When you go down to Starbase and you hear like just the high pitched noise at night or just all day long, it's usually coming from those generators.
Yeah, so we should see ship 24 over to stand A in the bottom left. That'll happen probably within the month, I think. We'll have the
Sorry,
rest of
I
the
just thought of
stacking.
this. I was like,
Yeah.
I thought of ship 20, but you did say 24. I was like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah. So ship 24 is currently in and high bay, all pieces of it. So it's ready to get stacked any day now, any moment now. Like I haven't looked at the screen for Lab Padre stream here in a bit, so it could be stacking right at the moment. I wouldn't know, but any minute now it could get stacked. Where they put the forward dome and the nose cone section with the rest of the locks and methane tank sections of Ship 24, and then within the month we'll see probably some cryo and puck shucking tests on that. So we could probably move a little bit more here over back to the right hand side, unless there's anything else interesting over here.
No. We are good to move over.
All right. No, Drew B thought I said it was stacked. No, it's ready to get stacked, like at any minute.
I was asking him.
Oh,
I was asking him if he said that earlier, because I thought that's what he said earlier, that they did it overnight or something like that, that it was in high bay. Okay, never mind.
So it's not stacked, no.
No, not yet.
Or he didn't say it. Tank section was rolled
So-
into high bay overnight. Thanks, Drew. I appreciate that.
Let's see here.
There's a lot of space in there. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I really like the way this all looks, though. But this is one thing that I just noticed, that they haven't actually ran the electrical yet. They put this the rack for the conduit up, but I don't think they've actually ran it yet. I thought they started to fill these. They've had offloads coming here, but it's possible that they've just been filling up these two tanks and leaving these ones closed, because I don't think the power is actually connected to these valves yet, just based on what I'm seeing right here. So,
well, they've been filling it with nitrogen. So they've been having nitrogen tankers come in, not methane tankers. We haven't seen a methane tanker for a while.
Well, I personally don't think they're filling these ones right now. I think they're filling these just because I don't think they have power here. So they'd have to actually manually actuate all of these valves, because there's no power running to them yet. So
I don't know if they're manually being controlled or not. They might be manually testing the tanks, make sure that they're holding pressure on all the lines with the nitrogen trucks. Or we have another line that they're using for nitrogen over there. So you got nitrogen everywhere and methane there. So that would be interesting to see the ground profile of that again, to see if they've added more lines or not, and we've just missed it.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna actually have to bring in some ground images. I'm gonna show you guys a few things, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it from the air. But one thing that we have seen is, I think we mentioned last week, the fourth methane pump is now finally installed. It looks like they finally removed the scaffolding up from around here, so you can see that the cryotubes are like fully welded, or sorry, not welded, wrapped. Now that this is, I guess, past commissioning, so you should see labels go around these later, and that'll kind of let you know that process is fully finished. And they're also, it looks like, wrapping this tank. So this was one of the ugliest tanks that was on site. It looked just really bad when they brought it here. It almost looked like it had insulation over it before, which it probably did, and then stripped off. And so now they're actually wrapping it again. You can see these rolls of insulation that they're using to do that. So that's another good sign, again, that we're getting closer to completion of actual stage 0, so they can just get to that testing phase, which we've all been waiting for. And interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to see when they put in the kettle boilers and connect the rest of that system, because as I said, my theory is that they're holding off on a lot of work until they have the PEA done, and maybe even the launch license. But I think the PEA is the main part there, to make sure that they have full clearance to do what they need to. And they're doing some stuff to that water tank.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the other side of
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
It's
Grandpa
Grandpa
Joe.
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 Hey, right on time. Hey, I used to build those kettle boilers and those tanks.
We
But
knew
yeah,
you were coming.
thank you. So yeah, on the kettle boilers, yeah, we usually refurbish those in the factory before shipping them out to a customer. But yeah, you can refurbish on site too, especially if it's just external insulation and such. Sorry, I'm late.
No, it's fine.
You're good.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you for joining us.
You're fired.
Oh,
Just kidding. Just kidding.
But yeah, what is going on with that tank? They're either inspecting it or like I could see that there's to the right in between the two scaffolds that there's some areas where it looks like it's leaked or something. We talked about this last time that there's some rust spots between the two scaffolds. You could see some
Yeah, you
rust
can see
lines
it.
going down. Just
Mhm.
well, there's that one up above and there's ones down below.
we've spoken before on how the construction technique they're using for that particular water tank is not the industry standard, and it's much more efficient, but it's also has lower margin for error. They have less ribbing inside, less support, and
Zero ribbing.
yeah, so it's a high risk, and yeah, I'm surprised they went that route, but good on them if it works. And if this is the only problem we're seeing, that's not too bad. You can repair small leaks like that, and it'll be
Yeah.
okay.
I'm wondering how much water is actually in here. I personally don't think it's. There's no way it's higher than this right now. You would notice a lot of water trucks offloading here, similar to the way that you see the cryo tankers. So I don't think it's. This has been slowly filled over a long period of time, but I don't think it's any more than like up to here.
So, Zach, something I've been wanting to ask you about the water tank is, it's a very large water tank. If it were even half full, they could support a true NASA style water deluge with massive pipes going to the launch table. But it looks like they only have a relatively small diameter pipe that's just doing fire suppression and maybe a little bit of sound suppression during a launch. Why do you think they built such a large tank? What else could that be going towards? Or is it just a mystery to everyone?
Well, I personally think that they planned to have deluge. I mean, I know in the report it says that they didn't, but I don't know. I have my own theories about there being water pipes down here, but that would be a whole nother episode just to like talk about where they actually are. I'm pretty sure there's very, very large water pipes that are down here. They just never basically buried them. There's several things that are buried down in this area that we haven't seen resurface. So, in my opinion, that may be one of them. But I don't know. Inside of this building, there's several heat exchangers. They could be either water to water heat exchangers or water to hydraulic fluid heat exchangers. We haven't really figured that out yet. But in order to in my opinion, they may. I don't know how. Dave's gonna hate me for this. So there's a ton of hydraulics all over Mechazilla. I mean, you have. Let's just look at it from a different angle. And I'm gonna actually switch over.
Oh, and as part of. Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, as part of the environmental study or their future plans to the Army Corps of Engineers, SpaceX did release a map where they did have several catch basin reservoirs for the excess of a water deluge. So,
Right, it was supposed to be basically
right
like
there.
right here in this area. Yeah.
Yeah, that to the left is mostly the luge area on the map of the Army Corps. So that area right in there.
Yeah, it starts off a little to the right and expands down there. There's actually a little road somewhere in there too. Yeah, right about where your mouse was. But
Yeah, sorry, I was just looking at something that I noticed. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, the pipes that I saw them, or I'm pretty sure down here, kind of end in this area, but they never resurfaced, and it's finally covered over. But I don't know. That's tough to say. I mean, I'm pretty sure they do have a very large heat exchanger, like I said, in this building, and they probably are just recycling it back to the tank. But I don't think that requires that volume of water. I mean, that's a massive amount of water. So, I don't know, man. That's a tough one to say. I personally believe, like I said before, that they did plan on having deluge. It seems pretty obvious to me that they did. So
definitely seems like the wise thing to do, especially if they don't have any sort of deflector that moves the flame away from the bottom and it just bounces straight back.
right.
But they have the deflector. We saw them. Those triangle. It looks like the Washington Monument on the leg.
Yeah, that's
Those-
just for the leg.
Yeah, so that does not prevent the flat surface under the table from just bouncing the sound waves back. And I guess the important thing about the water deluge is it's almost less about the fire and more about all the sound and vibration those engines generate, bouncing straight back and destroying the engines, as well as, breaking thousands of windows and stuff like that.
Killing the
So
birds.
so the other day
No, the birds will
last
be
week.
fine.
So last week we did see that they tested what basically would be a water deluge, or more of like a sound suppression system. Others think it's a fire suppression. I think it's just the atomization of the water to help reduce the sound, so that when you do static fires and other testing, you're not destroying this table. They're going to be testing this thing and figuring out where the weaknesses are. Water deluge is still something that they could have on the horizon to say, we have the facilities, we have the tank, we have everything we need to do this in case we need to do it. They like to work in the opposite direction. They don't build it and design it from the get go to say, it's going to do all of these things and have all of these features and these little, bells and whistles. They decide to build it as minimally as they need to, as we've seen them do it every way else. They don't want to design this from the factory floor up. They want to design this thing as the specifications of the vehicle and down. So they have a really interesting way of building stuff. So we've got some more pipe here. We haven't talked about this one. It goes all the way over to the
Yeah.
can crusher.
So the thing what I was thinking is that during the cryo test, initially they had a pipe going out this way last week, and there was like a little dirt berm that made people think that they were actually going to build another berm that was right here. So the pipe ran along that berm, but now it's coming this direction. So during the cryo test, you actually get a massive amount of venting going this direction and closer to the highway, and all of your other structures over there and your camera that you have on Starhopper. So you don't want to be blinding Starhopper during those tests, or else who knows, maybe Lab Padre might be your only way of knowing what happened during the test. So by not venting over in this direction and putting a massive cloud out there, you're sending all of it down here potentially and venting over here. So we already know there's a grass vent down here. I think this is it right here, where the other grass vent. And so to me, this is just the same thing, just a grass vent.
So they
But
have a LOX
would be-
pressurization vent. That would be just what you call the grass vent. They
Right.
have that same thing at the suborbital fuel farm, the orbital fuel farm, and this would probably be the same thing where they're basically saying all the oxygen that's gaseous needs to go off over here when we're dumping it. The thing that really gets me going, what is they're putting it right in front of that little concrete area, which is basically going to get damaged during any sort of static fire or launch attempt. So you'd normally have that up behind the concrete, not in front of it, because you're just going to have all of your impacts directly to that pipe. So that pipe, even though it's stainless steel, it's going to get all sorts of mangled and malformed from the launches or static fires in that area.
And then
So I'm
before
not-
we get too far away from the chopsticks, there's a couple of questions. Redacted asks, so where are the stabilization arms located now? I
So
think
they're still there. They
They're there,
brought
right?
them
They
back.
put 'em back?
Yeah.
Yeah. The
So
only
they made some
difference is that it's
adjustments.
longer?
It should be the
Correct?
same.
I thought they added something to it. You were saying that the other day, no?
I haven't seen any lengthening of them. They look
Yeah,
like they're in the same positions.
Yeah, they look like they're the same. I don't know what they did when they took them off, but it seems like
Well, you
Somebody
can actually see it
mentioned
right
that.
there. The hydraulic cylinder right there.
That's what
Uh,
I'm talking about.
So you can move it back and forth a bit better than it was as it currently is.
hmm And then
we
55
probably
Chevy
have a ground
guys.
into that.
Oh, I'm sorry. We
No,
do.
go ahead.
We can grab it for you. 55 Chevy guy Steve donated $10 and he says, what is needed before the chopsticks can lift boosters? Do we know if they're waiting for anything in particular?
They need to make sure all of the alignment pin mechanisms are ready for the lifting of boosters or even starships and all that stuff. But the starship is easy. The booster is harder because you have to align it and you have to be able to do it in an automated style.
We do know that the booster can be lifted from the top just fine, so it's not a structural problem. And I mean, Thomas, are the pinholes there for the alignment pins to go into?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're at the bottom and they're still there. They haven't changed those. They've they've managed to make it so that it looks like it go in and out a little bit in order to um, accommodate moving the vehicle. So it's all about alignment here.
So why would it be so important that it's automated?
Because you're not going to be able to have people on site. This is a very experimental crane, essentially, and so you need to be able to have it be able to put boosters and starships right down to the like millimeter precision, and this will allow you to do that. So those stabilization points, they're stabilization, and they're also able to rotate the vehicle a little bit. They're also able to move it backwards and forwards in the launch table, or yeah, for like the booster.
Yeah,
Let me grab the
and
ground
long
photos.
term, whenever this thing lands, it'll be half full of methane. So I don't think you want anybody around that for a hot minute.
Half full of methane when it lands?
Sorry, not half full, but it will have some methane in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of nitrogen gas. So yeah, there's a hydraulic unit right there. Maybe it's pneumatic, but it looks hydraulic to me.
Yeah,
So
I was
that's what they
hoping to see
did.
it from the side a little bit more.
There you go. Well done, sir.
Got another side view. It's a bit more side on that you can look at.
Is it past this one? Let's see. Oops. All right, let me just grab it from there.
And you think we're going to see the can crusher too?
What do you mean with the can crusher?
Check
Testing.
it out. Look at it. Look at the stand and all that stuff. Because there's a lot of changes to it.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
so
talking
it's
about the ground images?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we will definitely we'll touch on the. I think I have a bunch of images from that. Yeah, we'll switch over to those in a few minutes once we finish over the aerials. But the sorry, we're looking at this area, correct?
yeah, just to the right. We're looking at that hydraulic unit. So the piston is going off to the right, so it's pushing this and pulling this whole mechanism. You can see that it's got a little bit of a rocker swing on the top of the arm on the left hand side up there, so it can swing left and right. And then you also have the entire thing being able to go up and down. It really needs to go down to lock the clamps into the vehicle.
Right. So yeah, it can rotate forward and backwards, and then also. Wait, sorry. Where's the forward and back? So sorry, this extension right here only happens. It extends when it folds backwards out of the way.
It can be pulled or pushed as far as the vehicle itself or the alignment to get this into the vehicle, because the
Right.
main structure is this point up at the top where it swings in and out. It needs to swing in and out, and then this will allow it to also be positioned by just a little bit, not a whole lot. Once you're actually in place, most of the work is already done.
It's interesting the way they change those up for sure. I have to. Is this cracked? That almost looks like it's cracked over here, but what is that?
No, I'm not sure if the images that I sent you is the correct one because it looks a bit lower definition than I thought it was.
Yeah, that's why I may just wait for the ground till I switch over to the ground images for those, because it appears a little bit better when we're looking at it through the actual image instead of the web browser. So,
well, let's just go for the ground images, unless there's anything else that the aerial shots get here.
Let's see. There was a few things. I believe they actually started to the paneling that we were looking at going up the side. So instead of just being at the bottom, it looks like they've extended it even further. So hopefully they do continue to go all the way up like we were expecting. And I can't tell if they've done that on this. No, it's still the same on this side. Actually,
Yeah, it does look about the same. So they've got one
Yeah.
panel left. Actually, there's two panels. It used to just be, I think, one below, and
yeah,
now
this
it's
one used
two.
to be 1, and this is, I believe, 2 as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so they've increased the panels on both of them, so they're
It's hard to
equal
get
in
a good
height
angle on
segment.
that. It's like every
Uh,
that angle is the hardest one to get because the shade from the Mechazilla is always right there.
Speaking of throwing shade, I just realized the reason why it took so short of a time for Booster 7 to be mounted onto the orbital launch mount stage 0 yesterday was it, of course, doesn't have the engines, but all of the arms were already out and ready for it to be received.
Because they pre-positioned it with that thing, that the squid-looking thing that they dropped into it the day before or the few days before.
Yeah, they had a aligned
Do
mechanism
we have a
to do
picture
that.
of that? I'm not sure if we do.
Quick question about the launch table. How much of the side cladding have they added around the, they have the little awning that extends out over the walkway there? Have they
0.
put in 0? Okay.
Yeah, so the awning might be the entire protection of the entire system. So the thrust and the flames are the big things that you have to worry about. So this will reduce the thrust for sure. You're not going to destroy things by putting so much pressure on it that it collapses in on itself, because it's only like 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter stainless steel or something like that for a utility box. Actually, it'd probably be like closer to the 1, because 2 millimeter would be super thick.
That's
Uh,
pretty brave.
yeah. They might be putting some paneling on later, but we just haven't seen any evidence of that yet. Yeah, so let's go ahead and check out some ground shots.
Yeah, sorry, I was just looking through this. I don't think there is anything else that I was going to touch on. We already talked about the ship, the SQD, I believe, haven't been installed in the last few weeks. And yeah, let's go ahead and switch over to those ground images then. It's actually perfect timing on that one because I have a shot of that QD ready here. So most of you probably have seen this already, possibly, but yeah, this is. Oh wait, sorry, I'm just making sure you guys are seeing the right thing.
We're
That
looking
wiring
at
looks pretty ad hoc, as if they're just testing it.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Yeah, they probably will extend it out first to make sure everything works before they put everything in its like final. Because they usually sleeve these with what's it called?
A shielding.
Yes, a shielding to cover all of them. But
like the rope metal stuff that we see on the QD on OLM.
well, kind of like this. Like this is shielding right here for
Conduit.
Flexible conduit.
Yeah, exactly. So you slide it over the top of it, but I don't know if they're gonna do that up here or not. I think they did have it like that before they removed it. So
Yeah, it's all put together so they could sleeve it. It just needs to be sleeved from the other end or this end. It doesn't matter as long as it's not connected to anything.
yeah, hopefully we'll see some testing on that soon. And I mean, we already know that they can do a full stack without having the claws on here, so there is nothing stopping them from doing a full stack on 24 and 7 once it's completed.
Woohoo!
But there also isn't a whole lot of purpose for that other than to do the cryo test of test this QD just to do a pressure test on it.
If you scroll down a little bit, you can see that there is quite something missing, and they have to finish that off, replace it, and finish it off. The claw mechanism, it was useful in the sense that it was able to move the work platforms in and out. They do need an automated way of moving those work platforms again. They might change how they do it, but yeah, that that doesn't look like an acceptable way of leaving things at this point.
And I would say with the stacking of the ship, just to test the QD, that can be done right before a launch, or if they're doing a full on test again. I mean, it's such a short amount of stuff that they've replaced in that particular area that it should be relatively quick to repair any leaks or faults. And it's not that much that you have to worry terribly about cryo, insulation. So, yeah, just do it live.
So I'm gonna make sure I'm actually in the middle, and I don't know which direction is the right direction in here
There
in
you
these
go.
images. I'm in the middle of the gallery right now, actually. So we over here we have suborbital A, which they're finally getting ready to install the rest of the uh, QD mechanism for the Starship.
Yeah, so that bottom plate is precision alignment. It's the same sort of stuff I've seen with photography. You can rotate it to the left or the right, so its translations allow it to be perfectly guided to the point you want it to be able to connect directly to, let's say, the ship 24. I don't know how automated this system will be, because so far I don't see any hydraulics, but that particular piece is pretty promising. They do the same thing with the booster engines, as well as probably the Starship engines. There's a mount that's similar to that with a booster connector that it translates and shifts left and right, forward and backward.
So, Thomas, what would you see as the brief version of the testing campaign to get Ship 24 ready to launch, if that is the one they're going with?
Yeah, they need the puck shucking, obviously, with cryo testing. They'll do probably multiple tests of that. Then they'll do wet dress rehearsals with the engines attached. So all the RVACs and sea level engines. That'll probably still take about a month or two to go through and complete that entire testing regime from the current state that it's in right now. So things are going to probably be picking up pretty quick. One thing that looking at all of the documentation for what SpaceX has requested for the PEA, they're looking at like 20 or more testing regimes a year for static fires, cryo tests, and then 20 suborbital launches. So there's going to be a lot of activity, or at least they plan to have that activity in the PEA. If they don't use it, they don't lose anything. It's just that is part of what they've requested so far.
GB, what is that? Do you know?
This is the RVAC puck shucker.
Oh,
So it's just a column. It's to take the load straight to the ground. Up above is the hydraulic ram. So that goes to the airbag.
To back out, yeah, up here.
and it
Yep.
leads to that one. Okay.
And so there's 3 of those, and then there are
Mhm.
actually 4 hydraulic rams in the center. You can see a blue one with a eyelet, big giant blue circle. Those are for the sea level, and then there's one that's in there for being able to push and pull. So you have to scroll down just a little bit
And so,
right
can they
there.
expand it to add 3 more when they add those extra ones?
Sure, they could add 3 more RVACs and add the 3 more puck shuckers, but they have to do it a little bit different way, because right now it's obviously set up for just the 3. So
Mhm.
they'll have to basically do something very similar to this. And I don't think the leg should be an issue there.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it's already potentially set up for 6 of them, because it has
I
this
was,
other it has another
Those are
platform.
work platforms. Those are just for
but
working.
if you look, it doesn't look like they're 3 equidistant from each other. They look like they're 3 on one side.
So these are actually 120 degrees apart from each other. You could see them in the aerial shot earlier. There's nothing different or
Can't get another
any
angle of
changed
that.
about that.
Is there another
Love
angle coming
this.
up? We'll see. Sorry. Hopefully, I get another shot of that. If I don't, then
We'll grab it for you. Don't worry.
Yeah, this is where you get to watch all the action from when they land starships and stuff like that.
and I think we are. I don't know if we already
Yeah.
we already showed this one, I believe.
And the
But
doors. Did you
lower
see the doors?
They're
Dang.
open.
Cutie.
Oh yeah, the doors on the
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
The hood.
probably they've been in and out of there working inside of the booster QD. It's really cool to see this without it being plugged in. It's looking really clean though.
So
They
there
look
was a
really, really clean when they actually get the paneling on.
There's a question from Sahas. He's asking, does the X shape have any significance for the ship QD? So I know we're looking at OLM and booster, but thought I'd ask.
Can you repeat the question?
Of course. Does the X shape have any significance for the ship QD when it comes to the faceplate or the face hugger?
Oh, okay. So that was the QD arm of the ship. Yeah. So that it's basically pushes away from the ship. That's what those are for. It's for sensing also, I think, but it's to be able to push away from the ship
But
when
does
you
the
want to.
X shape mean anything? Is there a significance to the X shape itself? I believe that's more like because
You
it
have
could be
4
any shape.
points. It's just because you have 4 points you're trying to push away from. So there you can see it right there. And that's weird because it's on the ground. What? Oh, that's for a different system. That's probably the can crusher, isn't it?
No, this is for the uh, ground testing station, so the staging pad.
Okay, next to can crusher.
Yeah, it's next
It's
to
the ship cryo station, Drew says.
Yes, ship cryo station. So let's see. I was trying to find I guess that was actually the image of it. I
Yeah.
was actually looking for the other one, but they're basically the same. I don't think it's really just the minimal structure, you know what I mean, to try and get those 4 points of contact. I mean, you don't need bracing in between them or anything, so it's just an X is the quickest way to make a square, I guess, with the least amount of framing.
And
So
strongest, right? Because you've got the whole.
Hey,
Yeah.
GB.
yeah,
I don't know if you can scroll up just a little bit under the launch table. We saw a water deluge test when was it, about a week ago?
When Dave was down there.
Maybe less. Can you describe where all that was coming from?
well,
Like
it
which
was
pipes?
tough to see from the video, but I mean, I can only assume that it was coming from these ones because we haven't seen anything connected to the pipe on the inner ring. You actually can't even really see it from here. So more than likely, it was coming from down here, which is, I saw a lot of the cloud go up. I mean, to me, it seemed like equally spaced, like it was coming from above and down. So these are kind of pointing upwards a little bit. So
You
to
can see
me,
on the far back left one really well. Each of those are a spiral.
yeah.
So they aerosolize it.
That's why I
Aerosolize
just don't think these are water deluge necessarily, because I mean they'd be spraying directly on your engines.
From the image, from the videos that were shown, it looked more like a mist to me.
Yeah, that does exactly what you're describing. It mystifies them. Yeah. So it takes the water and it's basically like a fire extinguisher, the same type of connector. It mists the air, it atomizes it to the smallest components. That's why it looked like a mist to you. And then it's pretty heavy because it sinks to the ground, and the entire thing is really more, I think, still for that noise suppression than anything else. There's not a lot below here that would catch fire that you need to put out. So when it's launching, that's when those turn on. So the engines are on. You turn that on pretty much at the same time. It goes from a low state to a high state, probably similar to what they do at 39A. So it barely is leaking before, and then it goes full bore, and you're not directly pouring it onto the engine bells at that point because the entire vehicle is kind of launching out of there. And if it doesn't, well, it kind of blows up, and that's the least of your problems.
Yeah, this is still hoping that they put some shielding on the outside of the table, because it's getting there, but it's still doesn't look quite complete to me. But it is nice to see them finally testing stuff like that, because it just brings us one step closer to actually the point where, I don't know, if they don't have the vehicle ready, then if they did have a vehicle ready right now, they wouldn't be able to launch, in my opinion, because of not having the actual stage 0 fully ready. So they're getting closer to the point where that won't be a problem, and it'll be more of a vehicle related thing than actual stage 0.
Yeah, that's more of a manpower issue. So, like, we're seeing not a lot of people being thrown at certain projects. They're diverted to other things. Mostly it's production. The paneling, that will take less than a week or two to probably finish and wrap up. They just have to go through and put some manpower behind it to actually do it. Take a little bit longer for the paneling, of course, for the integration tower. And by the way, there's a picture that comes up. I'm not sure if it's here or up above, but I figured out exactly what the object in question is.
Is
It's
it further up?
Yeah, I think it's further up. So it's not this image. I think it's a different image.
The top of the OLIT.
But it's the same object actually on the top of the OLIT. It's an aviation tower strobe light. That's what that is.
We call it the Eye of Sauron.
Surprised they haven't turned them on yet. I want to see how those look. Is that only for during launches, or you just have them on all the time?
At night, I thought.
Day and night for certain ones.
Okay.
Well, they do have a TFR that should keep most people out of there. But if you've lost all instruments, then a TFR doesn't exactly mean as much.
Yeah. If you're flying blind and you're not sure where you're at, that's a huge problem. And it's basically now a giant lighthouse. Oh, okay, I know where I am now.
Or a mountain to run into.
But yeah, you want to talk about that, Going Boy? Go for it. Do it.
Well, so yeah, they have the basket strainers that are down here on the methane side, and the other ones are still inside of the building, and they're basically the filtration system, and they haven't actually put them in place yet. So at some point they'll remove these bolts and then lift in the other basket strainers, which that might actually be one of them right there. I'm not sure. So they still need to put those into place, which I'm surprised they haven't. I don't know. They may just be waiting. I mean, they haven't really actually done anything in here ever since they set up the scaffolding. I'm always hoping that there's actually somebody up there working, but I never see anybody up there.
If they put those basket strainers in place, do you think they'll run a few purge tests to just get all the gunk out of the system and get the strainers working?
Yeah, that could be something that they want to do is purge everything first and then do that and install them second. That would make sense.
I think the last thing I would want would be to take those nice shiny new engines and then throw a bunch of debris in them.
Oh, geez. Well, we saw they tested, or cryo tested, Ship 20 with Booster 4 together. It wasn't a full cryo test, it was a partial test. And it does make me wonder if they got contaminants in Ship 20 and they realized, okay, this is a problem, we're going to have to fix this, and this is how they fixed it. So there's always kind of an action and reaction for the things that happen at Starbase. Sometimes we don't see the action or the reaction, but eventually
if they have a problem, they'll add it to their next agile sprint and throw it into their story for their backlog.
Yep.
Exactly.
I just noticed Starship Gazer's camera down here in the corner.
Where? Oh, how funny.
Good old Brian.
So there was a question asking what the structure is next to Hoppy, since you're here.
Yeah, we really don't know yet. I mean, it could just be storage or, office space, but we don't really know yet.
It's a place to put your vehicles, your stuff, your people, probably maybe even a break room or something inside of there, because it's big enough and shady enough that as far as, there's a lack of hot sun beating down on you, it's a good place to stay while you're doing some work and needed to take a break and maybe have a vending machine or two in there.
But it's not covered.
Not yet.
Oh, okay. I was like, you'd have to stand below the beam.
I'm just looking at what the future holds. That's
Got
going to be completely covered based off of all the Z-Gert that they have there.
It's a
I love
pergola.
that word. I like Ziegler. That's a great word.
So it's a pergola made of. Oh, there's another.
It's the Eye of Sauron.
Yeah, another flash, a strobe light for aviation.
Is one of those a lightning deflector, lightning rod?
No, the one on the left, that is for a wind gauge.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure Dave has one just like it.
I'm pretty sure you're right. I believe Dave told us that.
Yeah, I used to have the model number and everything, and then I, had to restart my computer and lost all those tabs.
There is a question about, since we're almost out of time, I just wanted to ask a couple of the questions. Ayush was wondering if ship gets 6 RVACs, would the suborbital pad be able to handle the static fire of 6 RVACs?
I wouldn't see why not.
I barely believe that it could handle the 3, but yeah. Yep. So 2 ways to handle that. You could do 3 at a time, or it's just handle 6 with no problems. Also, with the Raptor 2 version of the RVAC, and Thomas, correct me if I'm misremembering here, but they're not just upgrading the sea level boost. They're upgrading the vacuum Raptors as well, correct?
So version 2 is basically just the sea levels plus a large bell. There
Right.
isn't really much change or this is all the same parts. It's just they're doing version 2, and Hawthorne was originally going to be the one building specifically just RVACs. The RVAC version 1s are actually a little bit better than version 2, but this way is going to be so much cheaper, and they're going to keep increasing the thrust on the RVACs over time. And that's going to be changing the system for Raptor version 2s as well. So right
Yeah.
now they're 230 metric tons. They're going for 250.
Nice. So
Yeah.
the point of that was to say that Raptor version 2 is a little bit more bulletproof, a little bit less error prone, fewer sensors, fewer delicate parts exposed. So I think if you're going to do 6, it's going to be with RVAC 2s, and you're going to have a little bit more security, and it should be able to withstand the blast just fine.
But yeah, to answer the question about the pad itself, another simple way of looking at it, they don't need to do full duration static fires. They've never done full duration static fires. The longest they've done them is like 7 seconds, and it's been a long time since we've seen that. It's more like, hey, we're just starting up the engine to confirm that it does start. Everything's hooked up. All of the readings say yes, we lit the engine, and the temperature readings are correct. So it's not like we're going to do a lot of damage. There is damage done to those pads, the Martite and such, and they will often go through and repair it every certain number of static fires and make improvements upon it. And so far, we haven't seen a lot of Martite flying off the last few static fires with Ship 20.
We used to see it all the time, didn't we?
Yeah, they just everywhere. And Grandpa Joe even got some just off the side of the road. Kind of a rubbery substance, right?
Sorry to
Right.
interrupt, but just wanted to tell GB here. I don't know if you want to show the new forward flap and the aft flap that I took photos of just before we end the stream here.
Yeah, I'm trying to where. Let's see if I can find that in the images. Trying to
Drew
do
has got you covered there.
Cool.
So I'll pull those up.
And since we're here, special thanks to Drew and to Rohan for helping us out backstage today. We appreciate it a great deal, guys. Thank you.
And a huge shout out also to Centric.
You're absolutely right. My bad. Thank you.
He's been running the show for us today.
And it's his birthday week.
And
Happy
also,
birthday.
happy birthday. Let's not forget about Marvin. He's been helping me out tremendously, and there's a whole team behind the 10-minute videos now. So we're going to be pushing those out every Saturday or Sunday. So I think the video's already ready to go. So, 10-minute videos are back. Thanks to the team.
Hooray.
I've got more images.
The correct image?
Yeah, that's the correct image, I believe, because these are the flaps out back, right?
Well, the forward flap is more to the left, so I think they need to pull up that image. Let me see if they did. No, they haven't. They haven't pushed it through, but you can sort of see it on the second image there.
Right here.
Yeah, and then the third image that just went through, that one clearly shows it a lot better. It's a zoomed in shot.
Yeah, less bushes away.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it definitely looks a lot smaller.
Does
And
make
real-
wonder if they're going to ever rotate the flaps to the 120-degree position as Elon has said, or is it going to be like Ship 30 that finally does that? There's kind of always that question that they plan on doing something, but sometimes maybe they change their mind because aerodynamically it's not going to work. It's going to make things worse on launch, and that's worse than having a lighter wing or something that's 120 degrees back.
Yeah,
and
I
real
have a
fast.
feeling. Oops, we'll
No,
maybe
my
find
bad.
out during the EDA's tour. That will be whenever that finally airs. Hopefully, they'll give us some more info on the forward flaps because definitely been on the lookout for that position change, but it has not happened.
Yeah,
And real
it's going to be a huge
fast.
update.
Before we get to the end of the stream, I just want to say real fast, if you all haven't seen Zach's new video, GB's new video, you need to check it out. It is really, really good, and I highly recommend it. And that's not just being a fan of GB, that's truth. Like, it is amazing. Stage Zero Zach is in the house.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I think we're actually a little over our time as well too. And I just wanted to say before everybody else signs off, thank you guys for being here with us. It's always fun to be here with you guys on Saturdays and be able to share these images with you guys, especially just having a larger crowd and having more people actually understand what's happening at Starbase instead of just looking at the videos and kind of being like, oh wow, that looks cool. So we are glad you guys like to be here and learn all this stuff with us, and definitely excited to continue doing this. And guys, continue to bring your questions every week. We really love the engagement, and I guess I'll pass it off to Thomas.
We've got the man here himself, Grandpa Joe. Grandpa Joe, do you want to sign us off here?
Sure thing. Well, hey guys, thanks for having me late as I am. And, it's great hanging out with y'all every week. Actually got to hang out with some folks in person last week. But, we'll be hanging around for a minute in Discord after this, or I will. And, look forward to talking to anybody who wants to come hang out. And with that, if we're good to end the stream, I'll say main engine cut off, stage separation confirmed. Love you. Bye.